Hi, good evening, everyone, and good morning to USA and around the world.
Good evening, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is
Good
everybody
morning.
And today, as everyone knows, it's an April Fool Day, so we are not fooling everyone. We'll still try to share the best of the news and facts, whatever is available. And today we have Kim from Raleigh, USA, and we have Willie from Australia, and I'm Ankit from Delhi. So we have the COVID-19 discussion is about to start. Sasha is joining us from Canada. Hi, Sasha. Good evening. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm so glad it's Fool's Day, April 1st.
Yeah.
If you look at my shirt, I love it, but my wife hates it. We agreed that I can wear it only once a year on a Fool's Day. She told me it's your day, you can wear it on a Fool's Day. Okay, that's what I'm doing anyway.
I think Willie's already had April Fool's Day.
But I find there are a lot of discussions that in times like this is not a good idea to talk about Fool's Day and so on. So, in order to avoid this even notion of a Fool's Day, so the proposal is to start April not with April 1st, but April 2nd. So because there are 30 days in April, so the April 30th will be April 31st. So there will be still 30 days, and we'll eliminate April 1st. How do you like this idea?
So,
It seems to me.
talking about epidemics and this being a global worldwide epidemic, I found a movie and a story last night. I want to get the book, if there's a book about it. I'm sure there's several. But it was about when Ebola hit Lagos, Nigeria, which Lagos, Nigeria is a city of 23 million back in 2014 when this happened. So that wasn't too long ago. It was 6 years ago. And I don't know if any of you are aware of this story, but I watched the movie last night and was moved again to tears. I almost forgot about this story. But if any of you recall what happened, Ebola was a huge widespread, and they were very careful about letting people into or out of the country with it. But the people took it seriously the minute they realized somebody with Ebola was in the hospital with them. Like, they didn't listen to, he goes, oh, no, I was never around anybody with Ebola. Never, I just came out of that country, but I didn't come in contact. And that can't happen in many ways, because somewhere you're going to come in contact with someone who might have it. So immediately the leaders of that hospital took it extremely serious. They were very transparent about it. They immediately contacted who immediately contacted CDC. And this is a hospital that was not prepared to handle an emergency situation like this. This is, a different kind of environment than what we have in our country. They didn't even have the means to seclude a person. They had to seclude the whole portion of that floor. And unfortunately for the doctors, because they did not have certain practices in place, they became infected. They touched the doorknob that somebody else touched. But this is what they did. Rather than being selfish or putting their profit before other people, they each self-contained until they had symptoms. And then they turned themselves in to be carried away and fully tested. In a 23 million highly concentrated city with the poor means of being able to maintain something like this, they only ended up with 19 people infected.
Yeah.
19. Unfortunately, about eight of them died, 6 or 8, I forget. I'll have to go back and look. But unfortunately, but they said, you know what? It could have been so much worse. We could have given that patient his rights and let him walk out the door like he was going to. Poor means of being able to maintain something like this. They only ended up with 19 people infected. Uh-oh. I think I'm playing back my own.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. 6 or 8, I forget. I'll have to go back and look. But unfortunately, but they said it could have been so much worse. So there's a YouTube playing somewhere.
Walk out the door like he was means of being able to maintain second life. They only ended up with 19 people infected.
I think I'm playing background.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I can't find it. Somebody's got a YouTube running.
Sasha.
All right. There we go. Sometimes that happens to me too. So you get a YouTube running.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, what I wanted to share with the people is that they took it serious. And because they took it serious, they were able to contain it and shut it down before it became an epidemic. They actually had an epidemic expert come in and immediately, unfortunately, selected a facility for a hospital that was horrifying and very sad for these people to go to and potentially die. They all kind of knew they were not going to die, but he didn't coach them to death. What he did was he told him, this is a disease you have to fight. Your body has to fight mentally. You have to fight this disease if you're going to win it. You can't let it beat you. And, but I think sometimes your body's weak, you're tired. Some of the things that we're learning about this disease is people that are incubated and put to sleep are able to fight it better because they're not fighting pain anymore. They're actually resting. So, but anyway, it's a great movie to understand how to contain an epidemic like this. It's a true story. It's called 93 Days. It's with Danny Glover, one of my favorite actors. So I, was able to enjoy it as well. But if you get a moment, watch it. I think it's an A-list movie. I think many people didn't think so because it's not filmed with the high speed drama and adventure of some of these movie star movies. It's a true story. It's a documentary story. So I highly recommend it if you get a chance.
Can we arrange the movie at our show? I mean, is it possible? Can we show this movie live to our audience?
Yeah, it's a 2-hour movie. I can show how about if I pull up the trailer? I'll pull up a trailer.
Yeah.
And but I put it on IBM TV. It's now for free on IBM TV.
Yeah.
And it is available on YouTube, but it's very hard to find. But I did put it there so people can go and watch it on our movie section. We have a few movies I've picked out that I thought were kind of fun to watch. I'm not going to say this is fun to watch, but it shows you
it's a good learning basically and good understanding at how things are moving in different parts of the world.
Right. Well, and also how bad things can get for people who are struggling and suffering with Ebola. I think sometimes they downplay the real impact on a human body because they don't want to scare people. But the beautiful part of it is many of these people that survived it are still living. And maybe we can get them come talk to us on our show and talk to the world about surviving something like this. This I think is worse. One of the things that was brought up was one of the main doctors of the facility where it came to. Her father was also a doctor and had seen and helped many other epidemics before her. And he would share stories with the staff and her before she took over the hospital as head doctor of the hospital. Danny Glover was actually the head, but you got to give the star the head of the hospital, right? But anyway, they kept going back to history. Your father taught us this. Your father said, but he also taught us we have no idea what evils lurk in the jungles that are going to keep arising out of there and coming into humans, such as HIV, Ebola, and many other diseases that they've also endured over the years. And I think we need to look at history as much as looking forward. We need to take a look at how they managed these things and what was successful and what wasn't. And what I noticed that was successful was nobody batted an eye at this. They immediately jumped to taking care of an epidemic before it spread. And I have to ask myself why nobody did that with this virus. I would like to know from WHO and CDC what kind of reports they were sending our leaders. So anyway, let's get on a happier note. Unfortunately, not happier note. Yes, Sasha.
Yes, Sasha.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Okay, what I'd like to do now, I've got the news from Irina Krash. She's published her next article just a couple of days ago. She calls it now Medical Chronicles Part 3. You're familiar with Part 1 and Part 2. So that here we go. The last few days have been kind of difficult. First, a new symptom appeared on Thursday, a small fever, 37.2, 37.3. I mentioned before that, apart from the first few days before I developed shortness of breath, pneumonia, I never had fever. So it was definitely a surprise that 10 days after my shortness of breath began, I suddenly had this fever. On Friday, my temperature read lower, 37, 36, and 9. But I still felt my head burning up. At the same time, my chest inflammation and breathing were worse. So I started thinking about what to do. This has been one of the most difficult things about this experience, what steps to take. There is so little guidance or consensus on anything from treatment to follow-up care. I was really trying to hold out on going back to the hospital, both because I mentioned I'd be stressful and miserable, and also figuring that as long as I could breathe, I should not take away any resources from the medical system. I got in touch by text with the hospital doctor under whose supervision I had been when I spent a couple of days there last week. I explained my symptoms, and he said that if I had fever and shortness of breath, I should come back for a CT scan. Well, that may sound simple, but the hospital is not doing outpatient procedures anymore. So you can't just make an appointment for a test and leave. The only way for a CT scan is through the emergency room. I tried to see if it was possible to go to some radiology clinics, but one of them said they were not doing chest CT scans or chest x-rays. I could see where this was going. And the other, when I told them I was positive for corona, told me outright they were not taking corona patients. But here is the saying, despite the difficulties in getting a follow-up CT scan, it wasn't even clear I needed one at this stage. Another doctor I had spoken to said it wouldn't be useful now. Looking for some direction, I got the idea to use CTMD telemedicine. I had really liked my 2 prior experience at CTMD clinic, so at 10 p.m. on Friday night, I decided to give it a try. For $79, possibly less if your insurance covers the telemedicine, mine wasn't among the ones listed. I got to video talk to a very nice doctor from Washington State. He thought that since I could string 2 sentences together without running out of breath, I was doing pretty well. He also recommended against getting a CT scan at the moment and prescribed me an inhaler just in case. Honestly, I felt better after this call. Just talking to a medical professional and getting some kind of assurance that I wasn't doing so badly was a relief. Now, on the day 3 of this story, Saturday was not a high point. There was no more fever, but my chest felt like a wreck. Literally every single point on it, up to collarbone, was sore and painful to the touch. It was even painful without any touch. I could breathe, but not without a constant reminder of what an effort it was. I tried going to sleep, but this physical state just wasn't very soothing. So I got up and drove to the ER. I did my best to hold out on my own, but sometimes you need help. I have learned how to pack for the hospital. The first time I was so unprepared. I didn't have any phone charger on me. I was really expecting a disaster area. It was 1 week after my first visit, but things were actually pretty calm. Yes, there were a lot of people, but it was not chaotic. The nurse took my vitals. My blood oxygen level was 97. It had previously always been 98, but I read that 97 is still normal. Unlike my last visit, I actually got seen by a doctor pretty quickly. She listened to my breathing and got to have a conversation with her. She was clear that a CT scan would be unnecessary exposure to radiation for me. Are you seeing now? I'm getting two completely different suggestions from doctors in the same hospital. And said that my condition, chest pain, labored breathing, on a day 12 since beginning the symptoms was normal for my diagnosis, and I didn't need to be admitted. So you see how wonderful it is. My condition is normal. She said that if I feel dizzy or have more difficulties breathing, I added, or if I'm unconscious, I can come back to the hospital. On a practical note, perhaps it was not such a bad idea to go to the ER at the quieter time of 2:30 a.m. as I was already home by 3:40. It's like advice to go to the grocery store when no one is there. So about the psychological side, at first I didn't really see the psychological element of this. You're kind of shell-shocked by the unexpected diagnosis, and what kind of strength do you need when you're just doing what the doctor nurses tell you. Stay in hospital, do a scan, give some blood, go home, take the medicine. But eventually I figured out why you guys were telling me to be strong. When I saw that this thing wouldn't let me go and I'd have to go one day at a time, not necessarily finishing each day on a promising note, not knowing what the next day would bring, not having any clear direction of what to do to get better, and simply being alone physically for so long, that's where you need to keep yourself together. There are definitely moments when I was worried and panicked. Now I kind of get it. I'm in a game. Yes, the position is difficult and unpleasant, and there are no more illusions that you can get through it without getting through these tough moments. Glad I am a chess player. That's it.
Wow, that was great. That was great.
So, yay! It sounds like one of the things it's such a deep letter. We need to definitely make a copy of this. That she one of the things I gathered out of it is something I've been telling people that really the only way to know if you have it is probably a CAT scan. I don't know if they could CAT scan everyone. They all want some kind of simple rapid test that you test your blood. I hope they come out with it. But I think the true non-false test is a scan and not even an x-ray. They know that you can x-ray the lungs and maybe see it, but the CAT scan is definitely going to detect if it's been in your lungs and gone because of the scarring, or if it's still in your lungs, like Ankit showed us yesterday. So, Sasha, are you able to communicate with this person?
No, I was not in direct communication. I have access to your posts, and I have a friend of mine, C.D. Belsberg. I was communicating with him. He knows her as well. So she says, he told me that, okay, it's wonderful now she feels so much better. Maybe after all, she will start liking Trump. Because it's well known that she's not a big fan of him. So I said, well, the most important thing is for her to get better. And it seems to me that she's very calm. But, you know, what I'm getting sense from her letter is that even two physicians at the same hospital are giving her different opinions and different directions, what to do and where to go. So you have to really, once it happened to you, and hopefully not, but if it will, you have to really understand what you're dealing with, because at the end of the day, it's your life. You cannot just rely on this person told you to do this, and that person told you to do the opposite thing. How you choose what to do? So you,
And you know, I'm going to tell you, it's hindsight is always going to be 20/20 vision, right? Hindsight's always going to be, oh yeah, that would have been the right way. I many years ago was diagnosed with something, not the rare disease in my spine, but something else. And I had a really good doctor that I loved, and he said, just please follow my directions. I'm an expert at this, and I'll get you through this. And again, another one of those diseases that never leaves your body. And so I decided to follow his direction instead of what direction other people told me to do. And years later, we discovered that the people who went the other way, that, you know, they were preaching in the books and kind of pushed him aside, they were dying years later. And his treatment was the right treatment. And so 20 years later, I'm still living. I got something else, which he actually helped me get through as well. And he's retiring, and so I have to go find another doctor. So my interview process with finding another doctor would be, how would you treat this condition? And oddly enough, I would have doctors say, well, you know, 15 years ago, we would have done this, but we found out that actually killed people. So I don't, you know, again, something my father told me, doctors are practicing medicine. You want to put your faith in them. But at the end of the day, just like what you said, Sasha, sometimes you have to evaluate everything in your world around you and just do what's right for you. But I look back and I say, thank God I had that right doctor and I listened to him, right? That I didn't listen to all these other doctors who said, oh, have this surgery, remove that, be done with it. And I didn't listen to them. I listened to him because what he told me made more sense. And oddly enough, 20 years later, they're all saying he made more sense. So I think until there's a lot of scientific data, we don't know which direction to go other than stay home. And that's the pill bottle Ankit put up yesterday.
yeah.
Stay home until we figure this out, people. You know, track.
This yesterday. Sorry, Kim. That video yesterday night that we discussed about the about 16 companies which are working on a cure from coronavirus, and it's kind of it's mind-boggling. I think we will discuss it more on Friday. But the situation is that while even earlier today I was watching CNBC, and they were all talking about that there is no cure available, and it will be several months before there will be trials and this and that. Yet yesterday it clearly showed 16 different companies which are in different stages developing a cure. Now, what's unclear to me is that there are so many stages of coronavirus developing. Is going to be one cure for all the stages, or it will be different cures for different stages? How it would work out? What's your opinion?
So, we are not medical experts, so we can't comment on it. But coronavirus, I mean, there are not stages, but they are people who have different symptoms, and doctor treat it as individual symptoms. But the issue with people who have positive cases, they block their respiratory system, and that's why they need an extra help to pump their lungs so that they can breathe well. Otherwise, once the virus goes into the body, it's difficult to take it out. So that's what we understand.
Have to be strong. I think you have to be a strong person. I think you need to be doing all the healthy things that you can. I would like to know if people who have inhalers, because that takes away the inflammation in the lungs, I would like to know if that's something that would help. I wish somebody was doing a test on that, because that could be something we could do at home. I've only had to use an inhaler one time many years ago, but it did made a difference, right? You know, I had a heavy bronchial infection, and but it made a difference. I didn't want to be addicted to it because I know, see, there you go. That's what it looks like. Yeah, it's a beautiful picture. Artistic.
So that's what it looks like basically. And you have so many millions of these viruses going inside your body. It's not one ball, which Kim used to show basically, but there are multiple things going inside, and that's what the doctor is fighting with. And if you have good immunity system, I think you can. I mean, people are recovering at the age of 100 as well. That's what we are hearing around the world. So it's all about human spirit, how we take it. And this is the medicine.
Stay home, stay home. Yeah. We can't tell people enough. You know, somebody told me today is April Fool's Day, so make sure you go in and wake your kids up and rush them to school. Tell them they have to go to school today. Wake them up. Go, you got to go to school. You're running late. You're running late. Willie, share with us what's happening in Australia, and what are some of the things you guys are doing there?
Okay. First, I'll just run the updates. Australian Capital Territory has 84. New South Wales has an increase, 2,182. Their last numbers were 2,032, so they've gone up by 150 in New South Wales. Victoria is the next highest place. They have 968. They've gone up by 50. And the total numbers yesterday was 4,550. Today is 4,860. And there's been a total of 20 people who have died from the virus. So we're in lockdown mode. And that's just maximum 2 people together. Otherwise, it's if there's more than that, you're liable to fines from enforced by the police. So that's where we're at the moment.
And really, what about the precautions, or maybe any guidelines from your from Australian government? Anything? Any updates?
No, there's been no update. Just the last one done on
Are you talking
Monday
about
morning.
the peak, or you are still slowing down and you are still get to the peak? Do you have any discussion about the peak and the slowdown?
No, I don't have any of that at the moment. I don't have any of that, but I'll get to it and get back.
So I will share something with you guys. You know how we were talking about the countries that are like reduced rates, losing in that race. The Netherlands has already shown a downturn on their curve, and I went and did some homework. I have not spoke with the prince yet, but I have emailed him. But what I have read in their news is that they have rejected every medical supply from China. They have shipped them all back. They found that the medical masks that China sent them were inadequate. They were not of good quality, so they shipped all boatloads of them back. They've shipped back many things that came from China, and that might be one of the reasons that they're surviving. Again, I'm not against China, but I do know from my personal experience that when things are manufactured over there, they're cut corners to reduce their prices. Their quality is not as grand as ours is in the United States, and never has been. One of the things I noticed was it started out with the refrigerator. What do you call it? The thing that freezes everything.
Condenser.
Yeah. So anyway, many years ago, our condensers would last, 20, 30 years. In fact, I've got one that's 30 years old. But my newer model was only lasting 3 years. And when I would call customer service, I go, "What's up?" And they go, "Well, your refrigerator is 3 years old. You need to replace it." I got one that's 30. It's in the garage, but it's for my vegetables in the garden and extra food. And I said, "What's up with this?" And so then I called the CEO of the company. He didn't know how I got his number, but I got his number. And I said, "What's up with this? What happened to the quality that you got?" It was GE. What happened to the quality? And he didn't want to talk to me, but he said he would fix it for free and replace the food that I lost because my refrigerator had died twice almost in a row. So the condensers are Freon based, and they're something that should not leak in your house, right? It's a gas. And they even say it's a very dangerous gas. But I found out all of these companies sold out to China. They still kept their maiden home names, but they all sold to China. And so these condensers are made with a leaky seal. So as soon as the Freon leaks out and it operates without Freon, it breaks. So 30, 20 years ago when we were buying our refrigerators, that Freon never leaked in our house, ever. And it stayed in the condenser where it was supposed to. Today, we're literally breathing in Freon from these Chinese-made refrigerators. And I'm upset about that. Nobody cares. Oh, well, it's a cheap refrigerator. Who cares? I do, because I was told that's something we don't want to be breathing in our house. And so these are things I've noticed over the years. Our quality of products that have been coming from China are not the same that we instilled into our products when we manufactured them at home. And maybe it's because we cared more about the people at home, not breathing in gases and having leaky condensers and oil. But I noticed that the Netherlands, just to get back to the story, I noticed that the Netherlands were sending back all of the medical supplies that they purchased from China, and that might be the reason for their downturn in the infectious rates. So interesting. Willie, it sounds like you guys have got this under control. Can you share?
I won't say it's under control. I'm just saying they're managing it a bit better. Because of the lack of data, that you do not have any up-to-date data because of a 10-day lag.
Yeah. So let me share with you something I'm gonna try to do. I should share this because I should make money on this, but I came up with this idea for like AI, right? Because I delve in it at a different level. But we could literally take every phone record in the world, and because I've done this before doing AI tracing, and you can pinpoint where a person's been. So if you've got a cell phone of a person who has COVID-19 and you send it to the center that's going to collect all of this data, you can trace where that person's been and all the cell phones that were around them. Now, you might not get everybody, but by goodness, you're going to get a lot of them. And then what you do is send a message to those people, right? We text a message going, we have reason to believe you were in the vicinity of someone with COVID-19. We would like for you to go home and quarantine. Now, that would control and contain the situation 10 times faster than what we're doing today. And this is something that can be easily done. This is something that can be easily done in every country or globally, because cell phones are global. And the GIS data is global. And we can do this. I mean, it would be so easy because you can pinpoint where the people are. But that's what I would like to see happening. That way, you know, you can trace a person's steps back 14 days or longer and just say, okay, this is where they went. Because it's hard for a person to remember everything. And you're not going to know whether you were in the vicinity of someone in some places. But then
especially if you don't know them.
Right. Because we don't. But it'd be like an Amber Alert. So everybody that was on the train with this person at the same time, this person was in the subway, will get a text message saying, on this day, if you were there, please take precaution. Please stay home because somebody was infected. And I think if we did that, actually everybody be staying home. But doctors and everybody. But at least you would have a better map of where the contagious people were.
Absolutely. And with that, we can better manage the whole scenario.
Can we do something like we should track the people who are quarantined as well and isolated, because symptoms will come later on. And people who have COVID plus symptoms, in our country, they are not out. They are not outside. But we are concerned with people who have symptoms, because they are roaming around, and that is what people symptoms are falling to people. And also, if we rather than doing it on a mobile or something, can we have an ID printed on the mask, and people will wear those masks with that gadget? Basically, that will be a better option, because sometimes if the GPS is off, I mean, I can put my GPS off. That way you can't track me. But if I have that ID enabled mask, which says some kind of an ID, or I can scan a QR code something, and that has a chip as well.
Yeah,
What do you think about that gadget?
There, you could do that. We've developed that. Just different ways, but to start tracking it via GIS, GPS. Just so that we can start tracing people's steps backwards. If that's what you really want to do in any kind of forensics, you want to trace the steps back. In a murder case, they always say you trace the steps back to what were the last 24 hours. And then if you can't isolate something from the last 24 hours, you want to go the next. So the whole idea is tracing steps back. And I agree with you. When people have it or have the symptoms, identify yourself, right, with something. And again, we've been talking about the mask are not to protect you from people having a sickness. You should be wearing it to protect other people. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have here, Ankit?
So we have some videos about tracking, and one of the journalists, they have created some kind of a case study on that. So I would like to share the details with our viewers. Here we go.
We lost the sound. You're going to have to stop and restart.
Yeah. I'll just fix the problem in the meantime. I think I've muted the system.
Infected today, then 2, then 3, then 4. It's more.
Yeah. So here we go.
Virus trajectories tracker, and some of these questions come up time and time again, so we just wanted to take 5 of these and go through the explanations with you today. Question number 1 is, why are we using a log scale, a logarithmic scale, on the y-axis, the vertical axis? Viruses spread exponentially, so by that we mean it doesn't go from 1 person infected today, then 2, then 3, then 4. It's more like 1, then 2, then 4, then 8. It rises at an ever-increasing, ever-accelerating rate. And so the great thing about log scales is that they naturally take that into account. So instead of a line that looks a bit like a hockey stick and shoots up into the sky, you get a nice straight line. And now some people will counter and say, well, doesn't that mean that people are going to be less concerned? They're going to think this is only going up at a steady pace rather than an exponential one. But I'd say a couple of things to that. The first is that what we want to do with these charts is to inform people and make people aware of the severity of the issue, but not to panic people. And so by showing this on a straight line, we're emphasizing that there's an inevitability about how coronavirus spreads. So most countries we're seeing are on this line of cases doubling every 2, 3, 4 days. And we want to emphasize that even if there are only a few cases in your country today, based on all the data we have, you will end up going along that path, in the same path that the likes of Italy and Spain have been on so tragically. So yeah, with the log scale, we're not trying to play down the rate at which it increases. We're trying to emphasize that the exponential nature of this spread is something that we see everywhere, and we're trying to make it easier to see, here's where you are today, here's where you might be in 5, 6, 7 days, and how does that compare to where other countries whose cases you'll be familiar with, where they were at the same stage. The second question I often get asked is, why aren't we adjusting for countries' population sizes in this chart? So this one is a bit more of a judgment call. What we have with this virus is something which spreads at a fairly consistent rate, regardless of the situation on the ground. We tend to see over a certain number of days the same number of cases after day 1, day 2, day 10, etc. And that's because this virus, it does spread fast, but it doesn't ripple through a country's entire population in a matter of days. So the overall population of a country is not any sort of limiting factor on how fast it spreads. It will tend to spread as people in those cities, in those areas, mix at similar rates, at the same rate. Now, we could, of course, still adjust the population and give you sort of per capita or per million people numbers of cases or deaths. What that would do is essentially just make larger countries look like their outbreaks aren't quite as bad and smaller countries look like theirs are much worse. With this chart, we're focusing on trajectory. We're focusing on saying, where are things right now? Where are they going to be in a few days? And how does this compare to other countries that you're already familiar with and following the news? So if we change to per capita, the slopes wouldn't actually change. All that would change is the vertical positioning of different countries' lines. And they would change in such a way that, for example, the American outbreak would look less alarming than it is, and the Danish or Swiss outbreaks would look worse. The numbers that come up in the news and the numbers that we as humans instinctively react to are numbers of people, numbers of deaths. I think if we start moving into per capita per million people rates, first of all, you lose a bit of the immediacy, a bit of the sort of visceral nature of these numbers. We would lose that connection with the numbers that we're seeing in the news. We're hearing about hundreds and thousands of people being infected and dying tragically in countries like Italy and Spain. And I want people to be able to see on that y-axis where they are in relation to that, not where they are in relation to some more abstract number, which loses, as I say, some of the sort of emotional power that I hope this chart has. So another of the questions we get asked is, isn't there an issue when we talk about numbers of cases where the number of confirmed cases in a country is more a function of its testing regime than of the actual number of people infected? We need to be very clear about referring to confirmed test cases and not just the number of cases, because of course, much as our governments are all trying to test as many people as they can, there are going to be hundreds, thousands of people in countries all over the world who do have coronavirus. They may be completely symptom-free, but they've not yet been tested. And so in the earlier versions of our charts showing the case trajectories, the y-axis title talked about the cumulative number of cases. Now, a few days ago, we actually changed that to the cumulative number of confirmed positive tests and not ground truth in terms of number of cases. So another thing people have asked is, should we not be showing some indication of when countries actually started imposing their various measures to get the virus under control? We immediately felt, yes, we should be doing something here. We need to emphasize when Italy, France, Spain, and so on asked their citizens to be confined to their homes. Partly, just to add that important context of the chart, but also because it's then going to be very interesting for us to be able to look at when do those curves hopefully start flattening down, bending down after lockdowns have been put in place. Because of course, the number of deaths, for example, in the country isn't going to start flattening overnight after a lockdown has been instituted, because it takes 2 weeks or more for someone to go from being infected with the virus to dying if they unfortunately reach that stage. Another thing we've been asked over the last few days is, can we, as well as showing these national numbers of cases and deaths, go down into the countries and look at specific regions? The virus tends to spread in small but gradually growing pockets. This tends to come from one outbreak and spread from there. So initially, of course, this all started in the city of Wuhan in China. We then saw a nasty outbreak in Daegu in Korea, and then Lombardy was the worst affected region in Italy. So we wanted to get into that with this chart and look at how different regions have been affected rather than the countries as a whole. When you think about the impacts of the lockdowns that are now being put in place, we're really talking about cities, which are usually these vibrant, dynamic, busy, noisy hubs, falling silent. We're going to be updating these charts and any charts that we add daily. So if you have any more ideas for features that we should consider adding or changing, then please give us an email or a tweet. For the latest versions of the charts, you can go to ft.com/coronavirus-.
So that is what the chart is all about, and they are showcasing the world and how they are trajecting and planning based on the population, and that is what. So numbers can be manipulated in different ways, and those charts will show you different picture maybe after a week or so. Because what happened in Italy might not, the same numbers will be accepted by some other country which is smaller than Italy. So that is what the numbers are all about. And so I would like to showcase this thing to our audience and to our viewers that we are still seeing a lot of deaths, and which is not good. And I mean, we have to stay at home, and that is what the medicine is all about.
This is not a virus to take
Yeah.
lightly. This is a very serious virus. It will tear your lungs apart. They didn't make us aware of this in the beginning. I'm very angry at the CDC and the WHO because I would have made different choices. Even back in January, if they came back and said, hey guys, this virus will tear your lungs apart, they didn't. Nobody did. Nobody, to this day, they are very light about saying what happens to your lungs. I'm very upset that they probably did not inform us how many people really already had it here in the US, but they were keeping it under containment and quiet. And maybe they were doing that hoping not to scare everybody. But that's not how you deal with an epidemic type virus. And I think they knew that this could become that. And sometimes, you know what? It's just better to be safer than sorry. And our leaders, they didn't choose that way. They were choosing a profit or people's profit. They were more concerned about the stock than they were about the humans. Granted, we hear all of these stupid stories that people are committing suicide. I don't know if your country is having that problem, but there's all kinds, and I don't know how true these stories are. I have not had time to investigate them because I've been busy trying to contact very important people in our country to ask them how we're handling things, and so that we can report more documented, worthy stories, and other than just what's coming from the CDC and the WHO. Because right now, I don't even trust them because they didn't tell us the truth in the beginning, or our leaders didn't let them. I'm not quite sure which one yet, but it certainly seemed like other countries were getting a different message than we were. But I think they were all getting the same message, but every country handled it differently. And I think this is what some of the doctors that have been on our show have been asking, and I didn't quite understand their question in the beginning, is if the information flowing through World Health Organization and the CDC were the same to every country, why did we all have the same policies of managing this? And it took me a while to understand their question. I don't know why it was so hard for me to understand that, but I realized they're right. If we all, if the same data comes from these two organizations and the National Foundation of Infectious Disease, why weren't all the countries following the same procedure? And I think we need to ask that question after we heal, so that we don't let this happen again. And you know, Willie and Sasha and everybody, what we're doing is really good because we're sharing the real information, some of the real stories of what's really happening to people out there. We're inspiring people to stay home, learn some things. Nick is going to be doing a free class on stimulus. We're going to be starting a startup TV show with Willie.
Yep.
And all of that's coming together. We're going to be working on a music weekend jamboree where we've got musicians from all over the world that are going to be dialing in. And if you want to be part of that, contact us, because what we're trying to do is give people something to do at home that's positive.
And I think we're open for suggestions if people would like to listen or would like to share anything, any stories, or if they wanted to talk about business, they wanted to talk about finances, they wanted to know how to do a 14-day quarantine, and if they need some help. So we are always available at our email, which is golive@ibm.tv, and you can contact us, and we'll plan something certainly, and we'll try to help the people. And also, I would like to make this announcement that if someone is not able to get the food around the world, you can contact us, and we'll try to arrange the food for you, because we have a lot of NGOs and social ambassadors who are working around the clock, serving food across our country, especially in India. But I can see that if someone is having problem not getting the food in different countries, maybe in Australia, Canada, USA, we'll try to sort that matter out. So that is what we can do from our IBM TV. And So, Sasha, do you have any news from Canada and Russia?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to share with you something. First of all, the government of Ontario, it's not Canada, but it's where I live,
Okay.
is working on a proposition that the same order of staying at home and canceling all events as they are presently until July 1st. Think about it, April, May, June. So it's going to be another 3 months complete lockdown. But what they're saying is that if we're already doing something, let's do it right. Let's not to take any risk whatsoever. And until July 1st, it's going to be in effect. So the order will come probably next day or two. And there will be also an order that police is allowed to stop anybody on the streets and check the documents. And if they feel that these people are in violation of any laws, they can log them right away or issue a penalty of $750. So these are quite strong measures. Also, I want to show you something this here. Hope you can see that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is what?
3 luxury condo projects in downtown Toronto go into receivership. This is exactly what I've discussed in the last day or two, that the real estate, which was somewhat insulated from the stock market and other problems, now is going to be hit, and it's already being hit a hard way. There are people, of course, today is April 1st, forget about the Fool's Day. But in reality, that's where a lot of rent and mortgages payments are due. And there is a belief that a lot of people will default on these payments. There will be cases where some people who even can pay this will delay or will make maybe a partial payment and use it as a point of negotiating different payment schedule or rent reduction or whatever it might be. So this is kind of an ugly part of all this development. It's nothing to do with the health. It's more to do with the economic realities and consequences of this incredibly painful experience that we're all going through. I always
I'd like to question that, because you don't go into receivership in 14 days. Okay, there is something more to that story than just, because if that was the case, 14 days and you go into receivership, no. If I was good to go into receivership, I would know 2 months prior or 3 months prior. My money, my cash flow is not working. My cash flow is not working. These people are not paying back the accounts. It just doesn't happen in 14 days.
Well,
Something else.
So something else, yeah, I'm sure I can delve into the story a little bit further, but I think what's happening is that if look, it's a big commercial project, so I don't believe that there is a one owner like yourself or myself or somebody else. It's probably a lot of shareholders or so on. And if the company has financial difficulties and one of the creditors petition you into a receivership, and they don't, okay, they can fight this receivership, but they have to have, of course, money to fight. They have to have alternative plan that, okay, here's what we are proposing, to do certain steps as to avoid receivership. But I'm not sure that these people had even willpower to go through all that, seeing what economic situation is. So what I think happened, they allow court to impose court-appointed receiver simply because they had nothing better to do. That's my take of the story.
Yep, that's a point there.
Yeah.
In Australia, if that scenario happened, we have what is called safe harbor. Safe harbor is if somebody can come up with a plan that could mitigate that, they would be able to buy into the project. And the project, and it's a government initiative, and it's called Safe Harbor.
Well, I mean, if I think they're going on a route of a court-appointed receiver, and I think a court-appointed receiver, of course, I would imagine that there is still some equity, even after paying all the debt holders. There should be some equity, because if there's not, then he will just liquidate it and pay all the debt holders.
Yep.
It's a question whether it will be 100 cents on a dollar or 75 cents on a dollar or whatever it might be. So I think eventually somebody will buy. Maybe one of the creditors will buy. Who knows? But
True.
I don't think it's a first receivership that people.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Yeah, unfortunately. So we have to be vigilant, not only from a medical point of view, but from financial point of view. Market today is somewhat weak. It's down probably around 600 points. And well, tomorrow or Friday, there will be jobs report. And we'll see how we will survive that.
We want a wealthier health style and a healthier wealth style, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what we need to look out for. And when I interviewed some children at the Federal Reserve, where they did a competition on a paper they each had to write, and the winners came to the Federal Reserve to get their award because they were given scholarships. And I thought this was very good of the Federal Reserve to have the children do this. And this was two or 3 years ago. And one of the girls said, you know, greens have two meanings, right? When you feed your piggy bank more greens, it gets bigger and better and healthier. And when you eat more greens, what? You get healthier. So I loved her interview. I thought she was very, very cute because she was talking about how greens can make you healthier and wealthier. And I thought, hey, she's pretty dead on, you know. But all of the children were great. I'm going to try to get that video replayed. Because I thought it was very interesting, because our youth is who we need to teach all of these disciplines to. And I think this is what nature's telling us. Just like we have our young ambassador, but we need to get more children to understand, excuse me, the importance of healthiness and wealthiness kind of need to blend together. If you're not healthy, it's going to be very hard for you to maintain wealthy, because you're going to be spending all your money on doctors and insurance. And if you're somewhat not sustainable in your wealth in some way, your health is going to go down, because you're going to be worried. Worried makes you sick. Your immune system's going to go down because you're probably not going to be eating more properly. So you got to find a balance. And I think if we look back at anybody who is surviving this, they're very strong people who have a very well-balanced life. Not to say that some of the people who died did not have that. I think data, like Willie said, is going to give us a lot of information on the survival, those who survived and who didn't. And there's no reason why we don't have that data collected today. We should be collecting the data. What kind of lifestyles these people had? Were they their immune system a lot higher? And you know, what vitamins are better for you? But I think that also is in your DNA. I think it's different for each person, just like the symptoms are different. You know, Sasha reads us stories about people who have had this, and their symptoms are so different than other people, or different than what the CDC says we're going to have. So, you know, I think you just need to know your own body, right?
What I'm putting that down to is their energy level. Their energy level, as in, some people are saying that lifestyle is about your energy. If you have high energy level, you're able to do more. Money is also energy, a form of energy. It's just a manifestation of energy.
Absolutely.
So you have a balance. You know, you have good high energy level. you create that on the other side with finance. Okay, it's those that are weak within their energy level will also be weak on the financial level. They kind of work together, like you're saying. They work together.
They do. I think
I completely agree with you. I think, yeah, we have to, when you talk about life, work-life balance, it should be work-life balance,
Yep.
health, and that should be in the form of energy.
Yep.
And sometimes, so I'll tell you about myself. I'm locked down from past 2 weeks. I just went out once to the hospital, and I got energy while I'm on the show. So for me, energy is talking to everyone and then, I mean, discussing your views, and because otherwise,
Absolutely.
I don't know what to. So that is why I'm always looking forward to do the show. I didn't sleep today last night, but I wanted to be on the show. So that is what the energy is. So we have to think about the different ways to get those energies. People get it by touching the trees. People get it by
Yes.
talking.
Or you can park
So
the
that's
energy and pick it up again later. I'm an energy shifter.
we should yourself boost our energy. And, that's the way forward, I think.
you know
But
there's
also, I mean,
happiness.
also, I have a question. I have a question for all our viewers, including our panelists. What is one thing which is more important for you at this point of time while you were at home?
um, I don't know. I'm alive and I'm grateful.
What
I
about
have
you,
my
Kim?
health and I'm grateful.
I am just so blessed before this. I believe I'm going to be blessed after this. I'm just grateful to be home with family. I'm nervous because my son's so far away, but I've got everything. God gave me a great life, and I'm thankful I have it. I'm thankful I have a good roof over my head. I probably don't appreciate it as much, and I need to clean it a little bit more. But everybody knows I'm domesticatedly challenged. I can't even do my own laundry. But I tried. I did try, and it was taken away from me the other day. I'm just blessed, and I thank God for it every day. I'm praying more. What about you, Sasha?
I'm I'm getting crazy about what to do first. Maybe to listen to music or play some music or play chess or read the book or go out and smoke cigar or get some drink or it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So, so I don't know what I'm going to do next. As soon as I'll finish this program, I think I will go to have coffee.
I
Then
think
Okay.
Sasha has too
Sasha.
much fun to choose from. Sasha
You
just
know-
has way too much fun.
it's
Sasha,
Sasha, you know
said it
where it's
better.
happening for you? You way too much in your
No,
head.
I'm talking about the day like Saturday or Sunday.
Move from your head to your heart.
Now, the
Yeah.
weekdays, there is also stock market. So I have to watch the stocks as they're going up and down, and I have a lot of fun watching that, sometimes participating in this madness. But it's very, very interesting, very challenging. Really, I have one question to you about energy, what we discussed, and money.
Yes.
So you know about money, there is a well-known saying, it's not, money is not the most important thing in the world. It's their quantity. Now, about energy, how you can measure the level of energy in person?
In a person,
How you can measure
by
it?
the people that surround that person, because it's not the one person on its own, it's the collective. You see, successful people, they're always just around other successful people.
No, but how you can measure the
Measure, there is no measuring.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. But I can up my level. I can exercise, which lifts my energy level up. I can do exercise. I can move from being a head person, too much data, to a heart person or to a gut person. I can move that way. So one of the things I noticed that we have is the people that are around us. That's very important. because we can only do so much. So there's two forms of energy. One is the internal, what we can do, like the exercise, and the external, the people around us.
I think
That's
you're
just
right.
my
think,
2 cents.
You know, this is making me think a lot. Although I think a lot, so I read a lot. I'm not reading as much as I usually do because I read when I travel and I'm staying home. And so when I stay home, I try to do home things. But when I travel, I read. So I'm not getting a lot of books read right now. And as you notice, I'm always reaching to a book for a reference, right? Because I'm just a perpetual reader. I started doing this when I had to be in the doctor's office a lot. So I think I'm not reading as much and I need to get back to that. But I think Willie's right. You know, we just it's actions. People's actions are proof to me of what is real, right? And I think it's really good that we're reaching out to people. And Kit did it first. I wish I would have thought about this, but you know, just reaching out to people if you're alone, if you need food, we're here. We're human, and you know, we'll help you. You just reach out. I have somebody who's reached out to me. I'm trying to help them find their sister. They have not heard from their sister in 2 weeks. They think she's dead. They have reason to believe she's dead, and they've reached out to us. And I'm reaching out to somebody who understands their language to help me figure out what happened to their sister. I will do everything in my power that I can to find out and help this person. And anyone else, if you call and say you're alone, you need food, don't be depressed. Get some exercising done. You know, I got this great book of my 8 minutes a day. I call it my, you know, I can't argue this. 8 minutes a day. Somewhere in my day, I got 8 minutes. And this guy is a world-class trainer. He built this for his dad so that it would be low impact and it would not hurt your heart just to get started with it. I noticed great improvement in my body, in my energy when I do this. So 8 minutes a day is, you know, I guilt myself into it. But if you're not moving around and getting your blood going, you're not going to flush out the toxins. And you're not going to be happy. If you're not sitting out in the sun for at least 20 minutes a day, you're not going to be happy. And that's vitamin D. So all of these things make you healthy. And I think you've got the time to do it, right? Even if you're not feeling good and you're sick, you've got the time to do this now. It's not about, I don't have time anymore. And something else, I've been watching a lot of text about, the lockdowns and what's considered essential and non-essential. And so many people are worried about their income. And, you know, Australia took care of their worries. They've been sending them stimuluses consistently. India has told their people, don't worry, we will take care of them. I think Canada seems to have it under control. But in the U.S., we're fighting over which of us should go to work every day. And again, it's not, this is what I'm telling the world. In the U.S., we don't make decisions based on the president, the CDC, or the WHO. It's based on a governor. And then each county in my state goes, we're not going to listen to the governor. We're going to do it our way. So the county commissioner does things his way, or the mayor. We're not going to listen to him because we know what's better for our people. And so nobody is doing the same policy. Everybody's making up their own rules in America of what's good for them. And I don't think we need to be doing that. I've been asked consistently by friends from around the world, when are they going to shut down your airports? We did shut down the airport between New York and Miami because we realized that there was going to be a huge pandemic there. Again, this is not an older person's disease. I think they're finding out that it's the immunity. It's your immunity. What?
So Kim, when you said that airport is shut down from of New York and Miami, but people can catch a flight from New Jersey to go to some other place?
As of over the weekend, yeah, I think so.
So how it works then?
You have to get, I guess you have to check and get permission.
You have 10 airports.
So this is the mentality of the Americans. The planes are cleaner than they ever been. I actually had a friend say, "Can I fly to come visit you? The planes are," and I'm like, "No." And they go, "The planes are cleaner than they ever been." And I go, "But what about the person sitting next to you that you don't know whether they've got no?" And so they think because the planes get fumigated every morning, that they're going to be safe to fly in all day long. No, our mentality is we're self-entitled here. We are fat, dumb, and lazy. Yeah, I said it. We are fat, dumb, and lazy. We eat wrong. We sit around and complain, and we wait for somebody else to fix our problems. And then we think, oh, I'm entitled to do this. I can do this. We're not humble. And if they read their Bible like I did when I was a kid, I was forced to read that Bible 100 times as a child. The humble shall inherit the earth. The meek. When you look up the word meek, it means humble. It's the people who are humble, who care about others more than they care about themselves. That's what our Bible tries to teach us. Not who's the biggest bully, who's the biggest pusher, who can Twitter the most, insults. It's not about who can insult more on TV or who, it's not about the drama. It's humble. God said humble. If you were reading your Bible, God said humble. And if you were reading your Bible, God said that the Bible tells us, the stories say that we were all one at one time. And we were arguing amongst ourselves, and he divided our tongues. That's how he divided us. Somehow or another, we've learned each other's language again. We've reunited. Maybe he's given us a chance to be one again. Maybe it is one God. I don't know. And I'm not here to be an evangelist, but people bring up the spiritual part of all of this. I met a spiritual woman. I'm going to try to get her on our show because the whole world loves her. I bumped into her by accident when I was in Miami. And it was interesting because she sat down next to me and everybody was lining up to meet her. I was like, wow, this is cool. People are lining up. And they were lining up to meet Mama. And then she reached over and she talked to me. She said she felt the need to sit next to me and talk to me. She's a very spiritual, loving person. We are friends. We are talking now. I'm trying to convince her to come on the show because when people meet her, she's so spiritually great. They love her. And but this is what we need to get back to. If you really read your Bible, if you're really Christians, and I know a lot of people are dropping off, oh, we don't want to hear this. Then read it for what God put in there, or the people who wrote it for God. But he said, the meek shall inherit the earth. That means humbleness, not glory.
Can I ask you a question? How would you explain that there are one organization is evangelists for Trump and another one evangelists against Trump? How you can explain both companies?
Very easy, very easy.
How?
Evangelism is depending on which side of the coin you're looking at. You can have radicals looking at the crown and saying, that's the one. And you can have evangelists looking at the tail and say, that's the one.
So, but the thing is that I'm not for any of it. I'm just for the solutions. I'm not for the person. I keep trying to tell people if I make a post of something and it's against Trump, immediately people bombard me with hate. If I make a post that's pretty much kind of for what Trump does, but it's for the solution, people don't understand. I'm for the solution, not the person. Then the other side immediately beats me down. Oh, you're for Trump. You're one of them. We hate you. And I'm telling people, I'm not for either side. I'm for a right solution. And what we need to do is put the solutions, the problems on the page and fix the problems, not the people. Don't pick the people. But we have a false idol right now. It's called Trump. It's called Democrats and Republicans. I say craps and cons because that's what they are. We've been a political party battle since 200 years, and we've barely made 2 steps forward. Every bill we write, I mean, come on, people, stimulus bill, 890 pages. How much fat do you think's in there? How much? A stimulus should have been, we write the people a check. Done. This is how much we're going to write. That's not what it was. It was taking care of all the big corporations. While we're writing each person a $1,200 check, we're going to give Uber $100 million. We're going to give the airlines $350 million. We're going to give the big corps $1 billion. You know, whatever. I might have these numbers wrong because I'm not reading it, but it was a handout to every big corporation in 3 versions. One, they can get a loan at a low interest rate, and no personal gain, not personal gain, personal liability attached to it. 2 was a grant, and 3 was some other way. But you know, loans, grants, and then they can apply for assistance. So there's it's for the top down. You know, giving each person $1,200 is not going to really get them through anything. I know a lot of people are going, yippee, that's $1,200 for vacation for me. You only get that if you make less than $75,000 a year. So, I mean, it's not helping the people who live paycheck by paycheck that make $100,000 a year. I know a lot of people who live paycheck to paycheck with $100,000 a year. And so this people need to get back to reality. Start isolating the problems and fixing them. Not.
Can you imagine somebody is making $76,000 a year? What a bummer!
Right?
Tragedy.
$75,001. I've seen them do that to somebody. I saw this poor woman one time because I help a lot of people, and she needed Medicare, and she worked part-time for one of the pharmacies, right? Eckerd's or something like that. And her paycheck went up $10 that year. And so she was $10 over the amount. You know, she made $10,000 a year. That's all she made. But that particular year, she made $10,010, and they cut her Medicare.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's our country for you.
Punishment.
Yeah. And she was excited to get the $10 extra, whatever it was, a penny raise, or, you know, and she was so happy, and it hurt her, right? There was no way to adjust it, to adjust the AGI down. My sister, I mean, I hate that she, God forbid, don't listen. My sister had a situation, and she had to go out and seek a quick job. And she wasn't receiving, you know, she had lost her job. It was a downturn during the economic times. All of the industry shut down, and she had to go out and take care of 3 kids herself. And so she found a job real quick in the emergency room because they were hiring like crazy. But she wasn't educated in that field. So she was only making like $10 an hour. And then they force you to buy insurance for the whole family. So by the time she brought a check home, she couldn't even pay the bills. So she was taking overtime hours, right? Well, overtime hours were killing her. Well, she went to apply for food stamps and government assistance because she had 3 kids. She was by herself and only making $10 an hour and driving. I gave her my car to get to and from work and get her kids to and from school. And kid you not, they turned her down because she made $10 an hour. You can make more. You can do better because, you know, you used to make $100,000 or $40,000 a year or whatever it was. So they turned her down. And so her kids were starving. So when I went to visit her, the pantry would be empty. She's worn, tired to death. I would stay a couple of days to help her and fill her pantry for her. But our government didn't because she made $10 an hour, not $7 an hour. But she was a mom with 3 kids. So our government is no common sense. No common sense. I don't know Willie, what's your government like with human resources and human services, so they call them?
They kind of work well, but very similar to what you're saying. I think that's the dilemma of governments. The wheel is so slow to turn. They're not agile enough. They can't maneuver. So if you come up with a problem, they cannot fix it immediately. It has to go through the process, you know, and the process is like at least 2 to 5 business days. There's never instantaneous. Yes, come to me. I'll fix it now. That's what I'm saying. While we're on this topic, we were talking about the startups. And one of the concepts that we spoke about earlier when we got onto StreamYard was out and about. I'm not sure if out and about is going to be a good name for because we can't be going out and about when we're in quarantine. So we just a question: can we rename or come up with another name? Or I was going to call the thing "Startup Alchemist and the Unicorns."
There you go, unique. Yeah, unicorn, right? Startup unicorns. That's interesting. Startup university, startup uniqueness.
Yep.
So
And do it in two parts. One being a chat with other startups, and one being like a webinar type format. As in, if you're a startup, get these basics under your belt. Know how to manage your time. Know how to manage your energy. How to plan, schedule your block, your weekly block.
being a startup is, I always tell people, it's like having an insignificant other sitting on the couch, lazy as ever, and you have to work and prod it every day to make money, right? It is not going to love you back. It really isn't. You've got to work. This is what I tell people. A startup only works as hard as you push it. And so I always tell them it is that insignificant other. It probably causes more divorces in the world than lawyers do.
What do you think? A startup in a day, how many hours a startup will work? Or maybe a founder of a startup will work for how many hours in a day?
Watch some of our shows of some of the world's most successful people, and they will tell you it's you don't stop. You are an entrepreneur, Willie. I mean, you work 24/7. You don't. You stop to be with family when you can, but your brain never stops. You're always.
How I deal with the situation that I am working 25 hours, 24 hours what I can do, and 1 hour I have to work for everyone else because I have to deal with people.
That's what I tell people. I might be my own boss, and it's sometimes good because most of the time I can say, okay, I need to take off to be with the kids at school or something like this, which that doesn't happen anymore. But I still 24/7 I'm available globally for anybody. It's just the beast of the nature. You love it. You're very passionate about it. It's your child, so to speak, in many different ways. But it's a child that only matures if you're constantly feeding it and you constantly work it. But that's what I tell them. It's that significant other, lazy person that sits on the couch until you work it every day. Get off the couch, make me some money. That's what you have to do. You can't. But you got to be smart about being a startup. I hear every time I have somebody come to me and say, I only need $150,000. Immediately my brain shuts down. I want to talk to them. Go away. Because it costs more than $150,000 to run a company. All you're looking for is your own paycheck. So you cannot tell me that that's all you need and you get a business plan or a model if you're going to take this out to the market. The founder of Fitbit, everybody knows who Fitbit is, had to go back to the well many times. Many times. And, that people invested in it and they had so much invested in it, they couldn't stop. They had to keep investing in it till it finally became something. But it was millions and millions and millions of dollars to get it to where it became something really big. It wasn't 150,000. So if you want to hear an interesting story, listen to his story. Because there were days that they were very nauseous, very sick about, oh my gosh, we're running out of money. The manufacturers aren't getting it. The engineering design needs to be changed. If you look at the Fitbit, how many different times did the engineering design change? They kept changing the battery and how to charge it. Apple came out with something similar, and it went through several generation changes as well. And that's not cheap. Let me give you an idea of how much a generation engineering design change cost. All right. we're designing the same thing for one of my inventions, a very unique unicorn, but it has to be customized, but no different than a Fitbit in many, many ways. And it was a $650,000 design change for us to do. Anytime we requested, hey, we need this change, can we re-engineer it, get the bill of materials and remanufacture for beta. For one beta, it was close to $1 million to test it out. So engineering costs are very, very high on hardware because they cannot get investors. Nobody wants to invest in hardware thanks to projects like Uber, which are all just software driven only. Everybody kept telling me, hey, Kim, take your invention, just the software alone, and release just the software and license it. But my invention was nothing without the hardware. My invention was more about the data I collected from the unique hardware I developed, not just the software itself. It was both. So, you know, when you're doing a startup, don't go to somebody and say, all I need is $150,000. And if they give you $150,000, they're really stupid. I'm sorry, but they're not very good investors because they need to ask you, how are you going to take this to market for $150,000? And they need to see the timeline of your development, your bill of material, and what you're going to do with it. Or if it's just software. If you're lucky enough that it's just software, are the developers finished? Is it past beta? Does it need an app? How much does that app cost? How many of you, I want to ask all of you, how many of you ever developed an app?
No.
I want to I want to go down this road. Developing an app, you've got to make it iOS, Android, and maybe web-based. But there's several that you have to go through. Those are two different beasts. You have to have two different engineers and one really, really good engineer that goes into both worlds. Then with iOS, which is, you know, the Apple and stuff like that, you have to be able to convince them to allow you to be there because they go through this credential list. They don't just let any app on there, so to speak. That costs a lot of money. That's a 90-day process now. It used to be 30, which I used to scream about the 30-day process. It's a 90-day process. So, yeah, go ahead.
But then also, I mean, once you have the iOS and Android app, you have to keep your versions of app updated based on the versions they have updated. So suppose there's an Android 9.0 or maybe 11.0 coming up. So you have to keep on upgrading your app. Otherwise, you are down the market. And what happens to the app?
Yeah.
So app, if I'll ask anyone how many apps you have on your phone, no one knows.
No, and here's what's interesting is people don't realize this. Just because they're software engineers who can design at home, they gotta eat. You got to pay them. I always get that. Well, can't you do this for free? You know, back when I used to do a lot of software programming, which I don't do anymore, people would go, well, can't you just build this for me for free? You just sit at home all day. Well, yeah, but I got to get paid, right? I got to feed my family too. I spend hundreds of hours sitting there developing this for you while you go out and make money. I've even asked, I've asked software developers, can you build this for me? But I will give you a portion of what we make. I do say that. I don't ask them to do it for 100% free. I give them equity or, an offering of some kind so that their talents are not in vain. But there's a balance there. What I tell people is do a real business plan. Okay. Sit down and just like you would do for your own home, how much does it cost for you to live each month? Well, then you need to do that for your business, right? Because eventually you might need a office or a distributor facility, or you might have to pay somebody 20% in sales or 10% in marketing. Figure that out. I figure things out per unit. How much am I making per unit? And at what point in the chart do I break even after development? How many units do I have to sell to break even? That's what I look at on people's business plans real quick. Because if I know how many units you have to sell, then I know what kind of marketplace you need to go into. Then I can look at the market and say, can the market afford this? So if I know, and then I know my price break point. right? Because once you know how many you need to sell at a certain price and you need to be competitive, now you know your price break point. Know your sustainability mark. And most of the people I talk to, they have these big, beautiful videos and advertising their product, and it doesn't even work. Like, yeah, this is what I'm dreaming it to be. I wish I could make a video like that, because these people raised a lot of money doing stuff like this and never got a product working. And so having an idea of bill of material, making the product work. I've actually sat down with design manufacturers who will help you design, do the bill of material, and build out your beta. And the owner, I sat down with the owner one day, and the first question out of his mouth is how much do you think this is going to cost you? And I said $3 million. And he said, okay, I'm going to talk to you now. It's like just like that, because this is what he told me. For 3 years, he's been burned really bad. Namaste. Welcome.
Namaskar, madam. How are you? How are you, Willie? How are you, Kim?
Good.
And how's that Ren? Sasha doing?
Very good.
He's trying to decide which drink to have, which coffee. He doesn't know whether to have a good smoke after the.
I just want to tell you something. While you were talking, I just had a phone call. And you know who was that? That was a real estate agent who lives nearby. So a real estate agent, I'm not planning to buy or sell anything. But she said that, hello, remember I talked to you about a year ago, and I live in your area, and I would like to ask you if you would like me to bring something for you, a shopping or anything you need. I will be glad to do it for you.
Wow.
Oh,
my God.
Thank you so much. Please bring for me 2 cigars. And I told her, yes. Now she's going to bring it for me. Bravo. That was a good one.
I like the way Sasha thinks. If I'm going to stay at home each day, I'm going to spin the wheel. What kind of fun am I going to have today, right? You know, that's the way you got to take this. Will leaves his problem at the tree, you know, and but Dr. Tula, what are your blessings today?
So, ma'am, the first thing we should learn from Sasha is how to live life as a youngster, because he's the only youngster between us. The rest, all of us are oldies.
Yeah, I mean, he lives life young, right?
Yeah. So he is free spirited, and I really admire the way he takes every day in his stride. I mean, that's something which we also should learn from him.
Plus, I have a free medicine. This is why.
So the country is looking after you, so you're enjoying now.
Yeah. Good country, Canada. That's what people use.
Yes. Yeah. Because ultimately everything is insured.
Yeah.
But you don't make a lot of money there. That's the only complaint which the Canadians have. So when they look at the US people, they're always complaining that they don't make as much money as people in US do. But look at the flip side of it. I mean, that's the flip side of it, and look at the pros of it. See, you're relaxing there. Rest, everyone is sweating it out. And that holds true for, I think, Willie also. So they are having the last laugh.
And we're all laughing every day, right? We're enjoying life. It's like Ankit said earlier. He looks forward to this. It makes him happy. And he might be real tired from a long day already, which we've been talking. We're going to switch some hours and have some other shows that are more convenient for people around the world. But, you know, he said when he gets here, his energy builds up. He's happy. He doesn't look tired. He's had a long, hard day already. And look at him. You know, Willie, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And look at him. He glows, you know. But we're talking about things we love. We love people. We care about people. We want to help people. So how are you doing, Dr. Tula?
All well, ma'am. Keeping our fingers crossed. India has received very disturbing news since morning. I'm trying not to listen to a lot of TV channels because it just seems that they are basically prophesying some kind of doomsday scenario with us. which we don't want to get into. But I mean, things are not looking good from the Indian point of view. We
Can you share with us?
will have a long. We are in for a long haul this time, I presume.
Oh,
So
but
Ankit is the Ankit. I mean, tell us more about what is happening around here. But I don't think things don't look very rosy at the moment. If I presume that is. And Ankit, what is your call on that?
Sir, I completely agree. People, I mean, once it started migrating to their native, that's when the problem started. And also, I think we are still not on our peak, and that is what the climbing ratio is. Every day we are getting 200 new cases. And I think, I still believe that a lot of cases are not because of the testing issues, that we can't test everyone across India. So testing might be happening in major cities around India, but not across India. And situations are not good. And you have seen what happened in the mosque and in the other places. So I think the
I
numbers will
presume that
multiply. Yeah.
that's
And
unfortunately that is staring at us now, I think.
yeah.
So
And
do you,
especially as it's happening in the metro cities in India, because people are, I mean, through metros they're going to the other cities, and that is what the channel is. So situation is not good, and rest. I mean, we have to try our best to get the things going and be positive. That is what we can say as a point.
do you think we're just not reached our peak yet because we know that the data is 10 days behind and we still have to wait out that peak because, you know, I still think it's a 90-day wait after I watched that movie 93 Days, which is a true story about locos, Nigeria getting sick. I think that we have to wait this out, but we also have to be patient for it to peak before we get better. And this is something I've learned by watching a movie, but it's a true story. And maybe I need to read the book. But, you know, Ebola was horrific. It's a horrific disease. I think COVID-19 is horrible. They were not very upfront with us. Good morning, Dr.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good evening.
Good
Hey,
morning, good evening. Namaste and Sat Shri Akal.
It's 24/7 for me. I don't care what day.
Okay. How's everything? How Willie? How are you? How's Sasha, Ankit, Dr. Tula?
Sagu,
All well, sir.
may I ask Dr. Tula, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned a few days ago that I was listening to the interview with the Prime Minister of Singapore, and he was
Yes, sir.
telling exactly how they fighted it, and they're now basically on the way to recovery, hopefully. And he was telling about South Korea did very well, and Taiwan. Now, he mentioned at the end of his interview that he is very scared about situation in India. And it was a few days ago. It was, I think it was last Saturday. So today is Wednesday. So did he know something that we don't when he was very worrying about India?
So I presume, Sasha, everyone is worried about India and everyone should be worried about India. Because look at the population which we have. And unfortunately, we are not a communist country like China where, I mean, we are a democracy. So, I mean, I would not like to use the word unfortunately, but what I'm trying to say is that we are a democracy. We do not have any kind of dictatorship. So apparently implementing everything, I mean, with our iron hand is little difficult in our country. And unfortunately, I mean, since the population is so much, apparently if a disease spreads, I mean, some kind of a viral disease I mean, with this intensity, I mean, we've never seen anything like this. I mean, if a COVID-19 kind of thing spreads, then it'll spread like wildfire with this. Because the sheer number of people in the country, it's going to be absolutely overwhelming. So I don't think there is any rocket science in, assessing that if this does break out in India, then it is going to be mayhem only. I mean, God save us then.
So, Dr.
Yeah,
Tula,
Sasha,
I agree
Sasha.
with you.
Yes. Sasha, look, You're right. The Prime Minister of Singapore worried about India. So that is true because everybody is worried about India. And I totally agree with Dr. Tula as well. So there are the few reasons why we are worried about India. Number one, as we have a high population. Number two, our population is very dense over here. The area is not that much, but we have a dense population. Number three, our healthcare is not as good as United States, Singapore, Canada. Our healthcare system is very, very poor. Number four, we are not doing the testing extensively. The numbers which we have right now, they are not the true numbers. We have lot of hidden patients over there. So our testing is also poor till now. Hopefully we are developing some diagnostic kits that can increase the total number of tests per day. Number five, we have a bulk of people who are not following the guidelines. Though the Prime Minister Modi has announced for the lockdown and it was taken good decision at the right time, but we are not following. Most of the people, they are not following the guidelines. So that is why number six, economically we are not strong. The people who are under the quarantine or in the lockdown, they are scared of hunger. They are scared of lot of things. They don't have food to eat. So I think these 6 or 7 reasons are there why we should be worried about India.
By the way, I mentioned before that in Canada, or at least in Ontario, that's where I live, this present situation of quarantine and everybody staying home, it will be extended from 30th of April to 30th of June. So we're looking at April, May, June.
May, June. That's
Because
60 days.
Right. So it's going to be 3 months, not 1 month. Everybody is locked down.
Because social security is a big reason for us to be scared of. We don't have a social security of the people. We have a lot of immigrants over here. We have all type of population. We have a lot more people who has traveled from abroad, but they are hiding themselves. They are not coming out. So a lot of reasons are there. So we are also worried. This number which we are projecting may not be a true number. Lots of numbers they would emerge.
We've not been projecting the true numbers on a day-to-day basis.
I would like to mention or break a story for Dr. Sabgu and Dr. Tula Sastry that everyone knows about Dharavi. If you have seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire, that's the movie shoot out at Dharavi. And in Dharavi, we have one positive case.
My God, that is my God, I can't believe it now.
Now you can imagine what could happen basically. Because if you have seen that movie Slumdog Millionaire,
Kim, just to give you a little insight, the area where he's talking about, that is the biggest slum in the entire, I presume, world, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Concentrated.
World.
Yes. So it is a slum. Slum means that I'm not very sure whether you even know the term slum. So slum is basically
And one more reason I would like to point out that we don't have enough kits for our healthcare professionals. Our healthcare professionals, they are not having any type of the protective kits. Recently, I would like to the incident which happened in Punjab province of India, in Patiala, where one woman died of corona day before yesterday. And all the nursing staff, they are now on strike because they don't have any kits. And if there is any patient of corona, they are giving to them and asking them to treat them. But how they can treat if they don't have a basic need to treat for the coronavirus? So a lot of things they are coming now. And I would like to mention here, the healthcare professionals, they are not safe here to treat corona. Today only the 2 more doctors, they came positive. Yesterday 2 doctors, they came positive. And there is one province in Rajasthan, we already talked, in Bhilwara, there are around 7 doctors, they are positive. So healthcare professionals, they are being positive now. I don't know how many patients they came into contact with them, in the last 1 week or 2 weeks, how can we trace all those contacts, and how many of them will be coming positive when the healthcare professional, they are coming positive?
You
So
see,
it's a big worry for us now.
Dr.
But also, I would like to mention that it's not about healthcare professionals, people who are driving the ambulance or people who are taking those people to the hospitals. They also
Yes,
need
yes,
protection, and
yes,
they
yes.
also need protection. Because if you know about what happened in UP, all the ambulance were on strike because they were
Yeah,
just asking for insurance.
yeah, they want protection, and we should give the protection to them as well. Only then they can treat the patients.
And
Dr.
you know about the story what happened at Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital in Delhi. One of the
Yeah,
senior
yeah,
I
doctors got
know.
positive, and then
yeah,
all the staff members. Yeah. So we
yeah.
need to take strict actions, and because people who are, doing the good job and who are the front runners at this point of time, we have to make sure that they are protective. And I believe that we have to work out something where we can provide some kind of shelter or some kind of residency for them as well, because I don't want them to go to their houses after doing those jobs. I know it's difficult, but symptoms can carry to their family as well. So I think a lot of
Yes, yes.
doctors are not.
Yeah, that Ankit, those are guidelines has been issued to all the healthcare workers in the COVID specific centers. Like they have made some isolation center. One is the Hotel Lalit. Hotel Lalit has been, all the rooms of the Hotel Lalit has been booked for the doctors of Ram Manohar Lohia and the Lady Harding. Even some saras there in Gurdwara Bangla Sahib and Ratagunj Sahib, they have also offered all the rooms for the doctors over there. So isolation is not a problem now. Now the problem is they don't have enough PPE. They don't have enough the basic safety features over there.
Dr. Sago, I would like to mention also that when the medical professionals, when they get infected, it's a very different from any other people, because the dose of infection, what they're getting, is much bigger than normal people. That's why doctors are dying so often because of this coronavirus issue. Unlike other people who can somehow survive it, doctors survive very, very seldom, unfortunately.
Yes, yes, yes. And we have seen in the Italy also around more than 1,100 of the doctors, they are suffering from corona, and 51 have died already. So slowly and slowly, your invisible enemy, that is the corona, is very intelligent. The corona is destroying the main soldiers of your team. Your main soldiers of team, you're the frontliners. They are dying now.
So one of the most powerful stories I've ever been familiar with an epidemic, and generally in most cases they'll bring in an epidemic expert to help contain the situation. But we didn't do this in the very beginning. Our CDC and I think our WHO took all of this very light and did not help contain things for the doctors and the medical profession like they should. I think it was more about not over panicking the people. But there's a story called 93 Days about Lagos, Nigeria, which is 23 million people in a condensed, poor area. Like you mentioned, the slums. I don't consider all of Nigeria, this part of Nigeria, the slums. You have the very wealthy section, but mostly not so wealthy, more of a poor conditions, less healthier conditions. The hospitals were definitely not designed to contain any kind of epidemic like Ebola. But this was in 2014, which to me was not too long ago. I don't care that we're in 2020. 2014 was not too long ago. Some years I feel like I just went to sleep on Monday and woke up and it was the next year on Friday, because it just time goes by so fast. But we could take heed to a lot of these moments that happened in our history when viruses came out. And if you read the story, one of the head doctors of this hospital where the Ebola hit in Lagos, Nigeria, was her father was a doctor before her in the hospital. And he even warned of this, that the jungles contain so many hidden viruses that are so dangerous to humankind because he had dealt with HIV epidemic and all the other epidemics that kept coming out of the jungle, that he said it's going to keep getting worse. We need to always be prepared. So she heeded her father's warnings. And when she realized that a certain patient might have Ebola, she chose to take the extreme against everyone else and said, no, we need to lock him down. He wanted to leave the hospital. He was a diplomat. He was very, very wealthy. He kept threatening lawsuits. And she said, no, I want him tested for Ebola now. I don't believe him. I want to lock him down. And it was a fight amongst themselves, but this hospital heeded her father's own warnings, and against everyone else that was diplomat and rich, they chose to lock everything down, including themselves. And this had to be very hard because nobody wanted to admit that they would have, even a doctor, especially a doctor, please don't take this wrong, but you don't ever want to admit that you become contagious yourself. And so if you I found a trailer for the movie, but if you watch the movie, it's very dry and boring as far as action-packed or drama. It's the truth. It's what really happened. And it's very sad because certain people's lives were put at risk because one man thought he was more important than the rest of the world or anybody else around him. And so he put everybody else at risk when he entered that city with this disease. Immediately, the city took it very serious. 23 million people. They contacted CDC. They contacted WHO, and the end result was 19 people became infected because they locked down so fast. 19 with Ebola, which ended up being aerosol, and only. I shouldn't say this, but 8 people died. In a city with 23 million people, a man who brought it to the city that was very diplomatic, would touch many people's lives, they were able to contain it in that way. But they took the extreme measures. They hired an epidemiologist. I guess I said that horribly bad. But they hired an epidemic expert. They set up horrible condition hospitals because they don't have great hospitals over there anyway. But they took an old, torn down place with a bunch of beds and hooked up an IV and threw people in there that had it and said, you're going to have to survive yourself with a little bit of our help. They didn't give them a lot to live for or off of either, if you know the story. But to have contained it that way is because they took the extreme measures. I don't know, Ankit, do you want me to play the trailer?
Yeah, please do.
And again, this is a true story of a condensed city with 23 million people. So they feared all 23 million would get this. I'll share it. It was very touching to me to see people take this seriously. Share. I got to remember to share audio. I did it.
Can you stand it? Now a patient here, a diplomat brought in by ECOWAS. His temperature is very high.
This is a viral infection, a serious infection.
I think we have a problem developing here.
Nigeria was a mere spectator to the deadly Ebola crisis, sweeping West Africa, but now there are fears that country could be on the verge of becoming the next hot zone for the virus, with health officials there warning every nation and every individual is at risk.
Lagos is a city of over 21 million people. We simply cannot afford an Ebola outbreak in Lagos.
There aren't many things in the pocketbook that are preventing a possible Ebola outbreak.
I want to know exactly why you are only one of my patients in your hospital.
I think I'm right. Anyway.
Everything in my portfolio is clear.
Oh my God. This is the best we can do. We cannot take anything for granted. A lot of our people have primary contact. You all need to take your temperature twice a day. Anything above 38.6 Celsius, you need to take it right away.
Dr. Diagnosis, the question is not if we'll get the patients, it's when we'll get them. But the real question is, will we be ready to receive them when they get here?
It is now time for us to do the job that we're here to do.
We can do this. I know what Ebola can do. Trust me, nothing terrifies me more. The only way to deal with this bastard is to deal with it.
Everybody's scared here. People are scared.
Is this what you want? Is this what you are willing to allow to happen in this city?
Most of us live our lives without ever really understanding how connected we are. But then one day, something happens. Something that changes the way you look at the world. Changes your life forever.
So there you have it. They had to fight for the extreme measures. They had to tell these people, is the profit worth the, which is more important? But they had to literally sit there. This expert came and said, seriously, do you want this to happen in your city? You have 21 million people. They actually had 23 at the time. So they had to shut down, and they did. 19 people. They said this was unbelievable. 19 people were that was it, and I got to stop it.
So I think what I can realize that we don't have any learning from Ebola, although everyone knows what Ebola is, and we have seen those articles, videos, and images on our WhatsApp, but we didn't learn anything. And that's what I would also say, that WHO is not doing what, as Dr. Tula said, that they are not doing the job for their. For that we have WHO as a organization for everyone in the world, and it's
So
more
Ankit,
about a political.
the basic
Basically,
problem is basically the problem is that no one is bothered about Africa. Unfortunately, that is the reality of life, right?
Yeah.
Previously, when they were, colonies of European countries in Africa, then they were bothered up to a certain angle. I think the world has washed off his hands of Africa, and they are left to fend to whatever they can on their own. Virtually, our support to Africa is very minimalistic.
I will tell you this. I have a friend in one of the villages.
And I'll just add one thing to you. Today, I was going through one of these international news channels, and I was surprised to hear that even the learned and educated countries sometimes behave very irresponsibly. So Hungary, I presume it is a developed nation. The Prime Minister of Hungary has told very clearly that there will be no lockdown, no shutdown. And in fact, around 3-4 days back, he was himself attending a full packed house for a, ice hockey game or something.
This is, the Netherlands have got control over this. I know the Prince of Netherlands. I'm going to try to get him on our show now that they've got control of this. But their graph is actually down. I know the Prince, and not very well, like the best friend well, but well enough to know that he's going to take this very serious, and he's going to lock them down. But if you look at their graph and their demographics, he has got this thing under control. I went to look at their news because I haven't been able to get a hold of him personally. And I'm going to share something with you guys that just kind of dumbfounded me. But they have returned all of their stuff that has been manufactured from China. All the medical supplies, the face masks, even if they came for free, they have returned and they're rejecting anything manufactured in China at this time. And I think that is where they've been able to recover everything. They said that the medical supplies and the masks were not of good quality. They were not of good grade to protect them. So that they've just turned all, and they're addressing the issue, hard and fast. And maybe people in their country trusted their leaders enough to stay home. I cannot wait to have a conversation with him to find out how he was able to do this. And I think, hopefully we'll get him on the show to share with the world. But, where we were talking the other day, we need to be working together as a world and as a globe. I also think we need to be careful of where we get our supplies from, and understand what quality or grade they really are before we trust to use them. Ankit has posted the best pill right now is to stay home. I don't know why people have not heeded that warning. I shared with you guys, one of the things in our spiritual Bible that I read over and over as a child is the meek shall inherit the earth. The word meek means humble. It's those who are humble and understand what's going on and respect. And I think it's those of us who respect others and stay home. We'll get through this. It's not going to be easy. And when I watch 93 Days, Ebola, they don't consider anything truly under control until they have gone past 90 days. That's why that was called 93 Days. They had everything under control by the 93rd day. But until you have addressed the issue and you have had control over it for 93 days, I don't see COVID-19 being under control. 21 days is not enough.
So, Kim, I even heard one news emanating from New York that there was a pastor who was holding a congregation, and the police swooped down on him and have locked him up or something. So what's the story around that?
So there's so much propaganda out there, and I never know if it's to boost somebody up or down or cause conflict. So America, I will look into that story. But you have people who do things like that. And I think in any country, you're going to have somebody who's going to say, don't believe them, believe me, follow me. Why can't you have a congregation on a GoToMeeting, right? GoToMeeting has special tools for non-for-profit. Right now, they've been helping people still continue to hold their services. You don't have to get together. Again, we're not even controlled as a federal organization. Our feds can tell us one thing, but each state's going to have, we have our rulers in each state. And then our state government, we have rulers in each county. So even though North Carolina, the governor would say do this, we have counties that will say, no, we're going to do this. Just like our governor said, well, CDC said 50. I'm going to say 100. We can get together at 100. And he put us in jeopardy because he should have followed CDC, or even better. He should have said, you know what? I'm going to do better than CDC. And I'm going to say no more than 10 people. But he didn't do that because it was all about the profit. He was scared to tell people they can't make money. Now we're fighting over who can really go to work. Because an arts and crafts store in North Carolina was told they can still have their employees come to work because they were considered essential for education. But another arts and crafts store was told, no, they can't go to work. Now you've got a war about who can go, who's essential, who's not. Nobody's thinking about their health. And I don't know what's happening in India. I'm shocked to hear that. But I think you're going to have to peak out before you start seeing this. And I think just shutting down 30 days is not enough time. I think you're not going to see a turn of event for 45 days to 90 days. 90 days, you're going to see the impact of your decision today. Just like when you work out. Just like when you work out. It's a season.
Agree.
Change.
Agree.
And I think if the government won't extend the lockdown, I don't believe that people will go out and work. So might be some necessity.
They should not. They should not. Ankit, honestly speaking, they should not. Even if the government I sincerely believe that the government is not going to do that. But in any case, if it does, I mean, I don't think people will go down to work.
No, then
And they
there is no
should
point
not
of
even.
Dr. Tula, look, if you have not identified the chains, if you have
Yeah.
not traced the contacts, if you have not tested each and every person of the contact, and
True.
if you have not put all under isolation, even if you lift up the isolation or this lockdown, you will have a bombardment of the patients.
True.
You will see, and at that time, it would not be manageable. It would only be manageable if you keep this lockdown, extend the lockdown, and do the necessary measures while we have already bought the time. We should do everything. Now, this is not the time to sit and discuss. This is the time to actually do the things. Make strategies, do testing, isolate, trace the contact. We have to do everything.
And I think we were smart enough to do that, maybe because we have a global contact, and I could hear from Willie that things, when they started locking down things, they were taking it very serious. I started asking the same question: if the WHO and CDC is giving out the same information to every country, why isn't every country acting appropriately in the same way? I think it's going to have to take its course, just like any disease.
Yeah,
We're going to have to let it take its course now. I mean, it's unfortunate that people did not listen. I think people don't heed a warning until it happens to them. And, how many of you know somebody with COVID-19 right now in your area? Personally know someone?
Not much, not much.
So that's what happens. If you really I don't know of anyone personally. I have friends of friends, right?
Yeah.
My nephew's boss supposedly had it. So I don't know anyone personally yet, but I don't want to, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I presume Muhammad's brother in England was infected with COVID, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
He had told in one of the earlier programs.
Yeah.
Yes. But right
How
now,
is he doing now?
he is absolutely healthy right now, and but his friend is right now having the infection, and he tried to admit him up, but hospital says, please go back to your home and isolate yourself. Here, this hospital is treating for the severe patient only. We don't have patients like you.
So can I
go
ask
back
you a
and take
question?
care.
Is he married? Is he married or what? I mean,
No, unmarried. All
is
are
he?
unmarried.
So he was staying alone only, or was
No. There is
staying with
actually
friends and all?
there is 4 floor, so each floor has one friend. So whole building there are four friends only.
Okay. So that means he was he was isolated.
Initially, yes, isolated. Initially, when Ayaz got infected with the coronavirus, so he was a bit scary because he was having a fever of 101, and he was having body ache, very strong body ache, and other parts, and breathlessness as well. These 3 symptoms was very much clear, but I just suggested him to take 1 gram of fish liver oil daily without any gap, and try to take the curd or probiotic daily on the daily basis. And the third thing, he was taking tea of combination of these saffron and one more thing.
Ginger.
So ginger, yes. He said that these 3 things works a lot better than the paracetamol.
So was he
Right now he's
positive,
working.
or just he was having only symptoms? Was he
He was
positive?
having symptom. He was having
Oh,
symptom.
so that may be
Without
because of
going
some
to
other things
hospital.
also.
Yeah, without going to
Yeah.
That may
hospital.
be something other things also,
Yes,
because for the
maybe.
corona, all these things will not work for the corona. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
sir,
he
do you
he.
suggest him to go for testing?
Pardon?
Do you suggest him to go for testing for COVID-19? I mean,
Yeah, he is working with the national NHS only. So he went there and he tested. He was completely cured then. Then he went there. He's right now okay.
no. But
Nothing
did
wrong.
he get the testing done? Are the reports
No, nothing.
available? Or Nothing.
Nothing. He after
No.
the complete treatment, self treatment, he went to the NHS hospital for testing. So that time there was a negative.
But Dr. Sabgun, Dr. Tulla, I mean, our viewers would like to know that if something happened or there are some symptoms, should we go for the COVID testing, or should we just see the doctor or maybe call a doctor and decide what to do?
No, look, there are many things. I mean, if you have a cold, right, but you don't have a fever, right, and
Yeah.
you have a mild cough, it may be allergic. But if you have a dry cough along with the fever and with the body ache, then it is suggested that you should get the COVID-19 test done, right? And in the simple flu, there is no fever. So if the fever is there, I think he should get the test done.
That's
I
what I'm.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, these three symptoms are very important for the corona. You're rightly
But
saying.
but no no. But the cough is not dry. If the cough is
Yes,
productive with the fever, then it is not going in favor of the corona.
absolutely,
If you have a dry cough along with the fever, it is going in favor of the corona.
absolutely right.
Yeah. And one update
The
I would like. Yeah.
breathlessness is one of the major symptom.
Breathlessness is the advanced symptom. It
Yeah.
is maybe on day 10, day 11, or day 12 when the fluid start collecting in the alveoli. Then only you have a breathlessness. Initial symptom is the fever. You have a pain in the throat. You have a dry cough, and the fever goes very high, maybe
Very
102
high.
or 103.
Even
Yeah.
more.
I want to inject here too because where I live, it's allergy season, and you get very sick from allergies with a cough, the eyes watery, sometimes
Yeah.
fever if it gets infected.
Yeah.
So there are other things too that that you can have. The thing is to have your facts. Don't have fear. Try not to panic because panic causes a lot of other problems. And just try to call a doctor. Call a doctor.
Yeah. Stay home. Stay home. Use the phone.
Yes, sir.
That's
Stay
right.
home. Use the phone. So, Dr. Tula, we were talking yesterday. I told you that the Canadians government has decided to take their citizen back. So now, yesterday, Prime Minister Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, did a press conference, and they decided, even the health ministry decided, they are taking their citizen back from Pakistan and from India, from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. 4 flights would be going to Toronto from Delhi, and on 5th and 7th, 2 flights from Mumbai, and maybe 2 more flights from Lahore. So they are taking back all the citizens who are present in Pakistan or in India. But yesterday they started registration for that, and they started booking the tickets also.
So, but Dr.
sir,
Sattu, the maximum population must be in Punjab. So how are they going to travel from Punjab to Delhi?
So what they are doing, there is a registration on the Canadian government website, and after that they are sending the link to the traveler, and that link, it will give you the number of and the contact details of the specific agent authorized by the Canadian government. So that agent will going to arrange the air ticket, plus he is also going to arrange you from the ground transport, maybe from Delhi, maybe from Punjab to Delhi, or somewhere else to Delhi. But that has to be from the ground level. It should not be from very far. Like the flights would not be coming, but the ground transport can be provided. And they have given 2 things, 2 papers. One is the ticket that has to be in the hard copy, and second, they are sending a certificate. So that traveler has to carry that certificate along with that, and that will help you to cross the Punjab border, to cross the Haryana border, and to cross the Delhi border to reach up to the airport, Delhi airport.
So, Dr. Sattu, I mean, it is going to be a dicey scenario, because I think you know that a lot of pilgrims had come back to Punjab for the, festivities of Hola Mohalla. So, I don't know how many people must be there. There must be oodles and oodles of people.
So there is a strict guidelines. First, they will check at the Delhi airport. If you have any type of the symptoms, you will not be picked up from there. You will not be allowed to board the flight from there. And the first stoppage would be at England. At England also, they will check if you have a symptoms. They will not allow you to board from England. You have to stay there. And the third checkup would be at Toronto airport. There also, if you have anything, then you have to stay in the quarantine. All the patients are instructed, whether they have symptoms or not, you have to be in the quarantine for 14 days after reaching to Canada. So after reaching Canada also, you will not allow to go straight to your home.
But sir, do you
So the
think this is the
government
right?
is allowing the flight. The government is
Yeah, they are
allowing the
allowing the
flight
flight.
to come.
Yeah, 4 flights they are going from Delhi, and 2 flights would be going from Mumbai in the first week of April.
But I would like to know.
And there are strong guidelines has been given by the government of Canada. There are huge fines over there. I mean, Sasha would be in the right place to tell all these. There is a punishment if you are roaming on the road.
That's
If you have
Australia.
a
That's
yeah,
Australia.
if in the Canada also, if some COVID positive on the road, I think $7.5 lakh punishment challan is there, and if somebody dies because of you, then you have to pay 10 lakhs of Canadian dollar, plus you have 6 years of jail.
Absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like yesterday we looked at patient 31. Patient 31 wasn't informed well enough. Some other issues, I agree with punishing, but a lot of people have not been well informed. And I'll be honest with you, even my own, people I know very well, they quit watching the news 14 days ago because they were tired of it. So the last news they got was that it's not airborne, you're healthier in warmer weather. And, so they're all like, yeah, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to go to Florida. They've not watched the news here. They gave up on the news because they were sick of it. So people are not informed. So the president got smart and he realized, I have to say smart, and he started mailing these to us, right? But it's campaign time of year. Nobody wants to read these, so they go into the trash can. So
instead of that, they should give us the mask.
It is not an airborne, it is airport borne.
But sir, I would like to ask that is this the right step by President Trudeau to bring back Canadians from around the world? Because I think that this is not a right time to transport people.
No, but he is going to help their people, and maybe it's a good idea from him. And anyway, it is a good for India also. At least we are getting our burden down also, and maybe good for him also. He want to do.
I'm gonna do this. This is Corona, and I'm gonna just beat Corona up every day, and it's gonna make me happy because I stick it with, and then I beat Corona up, and I talk to my friends. I stay home. I pray every day. You got to attack it mentally, right? You have to say we're going to beat it. But
with this, I'll take your leave. Namaste, Sat Shri Akal.
Namaste.
Sasha.
Thank you,
Dr.
Sagu.
Muhammad.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
This is online handshake.
Lovely.
This is our handshake. That's right. Backwards and forwards. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming and making us happy. But let's talk about some healthy habits. We need to instill this in people. Because I've got people now watching from Africa, from Philippines. I've got a lot of people watching from, people asking every day. But we've got a lot of people from around the world that are scared. They don't have the information base that we have. They're afraid to trust their governments. So it's just some basics. Like we said, Africa's kind of on their own. I have a good friend in Africa. So every day I tell him what we learn. I share with him, this is what we've learned. Wash your hands real good. Stay away from people. Don't trust to be around people. Drink a lot of water. I'm trying to give him habits that he can get resources to. You keep saying fish oil. He eats a lot of fish anyway, so I hope that helps. But they don't have resources. And the thing is we might contain it in our own community and in our own country, but it's not going to be contained in other parts of the world. And we're going to have to address that. We need to address how, just like Ebola, right? Just because it lives in Africa doesn't mean it can't travel out. And so I tell people, and Nick keeps saying the vaccine, that's where the money needs to go, because we're going to have to give ourselves a vaccine. But we have to be able to treat it too. I mean, you guys are staying put and doing the right things, but now we hear that there's a little bit to be concerned. I'm concerned for India too, because you're a massive group of people, but you're also a resource, right? You're not just something weird just happened here. You're a huge group of people, but you're also a tight-knit community with the U.S. So yes, I'm very concerned for you. You've become one of our resources for a lot of things, and I'm not worried about that in general, but I'm worried about the people because there's so many of you. And we've built such a good connection over the past few years. And but we need to look out for each other. So any other good words of advice coming from there? I'm going to be talking with some government people today.
I think the only thing, Kim, you should convince your government is to, shut down. They should forget economics at the moment. Vaccines or non-vaccines, it doesn't matter. Honestly speaking, life matters, and I really think you should put a lot of pressure on your government to, shut America down for the moment. Because I don't presume there is no other way of, we are all talking in theoretics about vaccines and all that. It will take a hell lot of a time for the vaccine to come into the picture. It's not going to happen within 2-3 months. It's going to minimum take 6 to 8 months for that to happen. And 6 to 8 months, honestly speaking, is a very long time. So we should be putting as much of pressure on, our political leaders to do the right, to do the right thing. And in fact, not only on the political leaders of our countries, also on the countries surrounding us or the countries in which we have, people going up and down from.
Dr. Tula, you have a friend. A friend just said hello to you. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can, sir.
Do you know Mac TV?
Yeah, I know. Good to hear from him, ma'am. It's been quite some time.
Yeah, so he said the same thing, but he was so happy to see you.
World is very small, and that's how people connect with each other. We are still living in a very small world.
Yeah, of course.
Is that cool or what? I think that's cool to have a friend reach out to you like that. That is very, very cool. I think we all have friends that have been texting in. I'm happy to see that we're all listening to each other. We're sharing some good advice. Maxie B was telling me that they're in lockdown where he lives. It's everywhere. I don't think anyone has seen a virus spread like this globally. Have we?
No, I don't think it's been. So pockets of influenza had this way back around 20 years, 30 years back. But at that time, fortunately for those times, the world was also not that connected. So I presume that it did not spread from areas to areas. So we did not have pandemic. Now the problem is that we are so interconnected with each other. So there is no disease which is our disease, and there is any disease which is your disease. Apparently, we are going to interact and continue to doing that. Travel is going to be the new norm. So we are always going to be exposed to all kinds of infectious diseases unless and until we have some kind of a global strategy on it.
Now,
which unfortunately, because of the bickering of the politicians, doesn't look like a possibility in the near future also.
And is there something we could do on a global, like are there contacts that we can reach out to on a higher global level? Maybe if I get the Prince of Netherlands online to share with us why they've had such great success, and some other very powerful people, and we get them all together and we have this powwow, because you would think that this would be going on with the WHO and CDC, but I don't feel it. I don't, and nobody's trusting China right now. Nobody. And no, I don't know if you guys are, but
So, Kim, this has to be a people's movement. We
right,
need to understand that it has to be it just like climate change. So the young lady who got involved in it, she turned it around on the head. So people were then forced to listen to her. So we need this to be a people's movement. Unfortunately, the politicians are not the right guys, I mean, for this.
All
We
right.
totally agree. We totally agree with
One of the
what.
healthcare strategy varies from country to country. Yesterday, I was listening to Dr. Pooja Shukla from New York, and she was facing challenges like treating patients with the corona infection and those and other patients as well in the same hospital is really a very challenging job. But what Delhi government has followed one method of operandi. They have finalized 5 specialty hospital, especially for the corona only. So they are targeting like that. So this strategy could work in a better way. So I think world should follow this thing. This is one of the best strategy to protect other patient as well who is not having the corona, but they are having the other serious infections. This is one of the
So,
strategy that
Mohammed,
the other hospitals should follow.
the challenge in these parts of the world are that there is an overwhelming number of patients who are reporting. So in India, the reporting number is not that. See, I mean, I am not prophesizing, but God forbid if that comes into the picture, you will see all mayhem around in India also.
Absolutely.
We don't want that to happen. So, I mean, this looks very rosy at the moment. But if you go to a country like Italy, or I mean, at the moment in US also, or in France, or in those countries, I mean,
Germany and all.
there is an overwhelming number of people reporting to hospitals.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, this looks very good on paper. It is not going to be effective if, I mean, we have overwhelming number of people.
Yes, absolutely right. One of the
And the problem is
good
you need to
information.
understand one thing, that there is another difference between our structures. So in us, we have 3-tier kind of systems within India in the healthcare. So we have these public hospitals. Uh, some are medical colleges, which are, you can say, the tier 3, I mean, or the tertiary care centers. Then we have the district hospitals, which are the secondary care centers. And then we have the PHCs, which are the primary care centers. Now, the tertiary care centers still are better equipped. I won't say they are the best equipped, but they are still better equipped. But if you go to the district hospitals and the PHCs, I can assure you that they are virtually, I mean, you would not even like to enter into those kind of hospitals. They're virtually very down, and I mean, so apparently the governments over a period of time have not been investing in them, right? And what happens in the private sectors also, you have these so-called 5-star hospitals, which are very good. They have all the machinery and all the equipment, so there is no problem with them. And then you have these tier 2, tier 3 hospitals. I mean, these are the lesser hospitals also. They are also equipped up to a certain level. But then if you go to small towns, then the private hospitals are also not equipped to handle the workload of, I mean, so apparently we have a very vast kind of hospital network. Unfortunately, the best practices are not being followed all across the hospital.
Across the country.
So there is that challenge. At the moment also, what the government has done is they have deputed these government hospitals for corona, and they have earmarked certain private hospitals at the moment. But if the number keeps on increasing, I mean, they will be forced to, I mean, open up in each and every hospital. and then their challenge will arise. Hopefully,
right.
we are keeping our fingers crossed that it should not happen. But if it happens, then we are in a, bad shape.
We believe in
I completely agree. I just
waiting for
wanted to
the good
mention
days.
one point to Dr. Tulla that, sir, you have mentioned about the hospitals and how the hospitals are working in India. But what about, three tier, four tier, five tier, and villages? Because they have a different sector of hospitals. And I am
So
not
that's
sure whether.
that's what I was trying to tell you, that see, like in India we have these tertiary care centers or the medical colleges hospitals, right? They are supposed to be the best public care hospitals. They
Yeah.
are or they are not. That is a contentious issue. I will not get into that. But they are supposed to be the
Yeah.
best hospitals, right? And then we have these premier institute like the AIMS, the PGIs, and all, right? But they are very limited. Then we have in districts we have district hospitals, which is not a medical teaching hospital. It is basically a typical district hospital, right? And then in the smaller, villages and all, we have what is known as the primary health center. It is not exactly a hospital. It has basically, you can call it a kind of an clinic kind of a scenario, right? With pharmacy and some amount of, basic care which is available, so that when the person reports into a primary health center, if the primary health center doctor feels that they can tackle him, they will tackle at their own end. Otherwise, they will refer the patient into the district hospital. So this is how the public sector works. Now the thing is
No,
that
but
in villages you don't have even private facilities available in maximum villages, except the better villages in little more evolved, or I would say financially
yeah.
better state.
I agree, sir. But my question is that if something happened to those villages, how the infrastructure or the at the village level the doctor will supposed to work? Because I am not sure whether they have all the gears, all the protections, and all these facilities available for the COVID-19.
So that is why this challenge of this mass migration, back into the villages is being challenged, because see, apparently if they take COVID along with them to those places, then it is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. So that's why my concern was, because these mass migration going around, and then we don't know that where people are going. We are not tracking those people, and if something would happen, it would burst out the complete town or a village or wherever these people are going.
Yes, I do agree with you that we will be in a very bad proposition if that happens. That is the worst case scenario, which we would not even like to visualize.
And sir, also I would like to mention that while we were discussing, the total cases around the world have crossed around 900,000.
What? Oh, we just got the update,
Total
right?
cases
It comes at 12 o'clock every day. So the update for World Meter is done every day at noon. So how much is it? Right at
900,000.
So we're hitting 1 million. I was told that to be expecting 20,000 a day in North Carolina here real soon. So because nobody listened, nobody, and nobody still is. I mean, they're still upset because they can't go to work. I don't get it. But
You won't believe that out of those 900,000, more than 20% cases are from USA, and that happened within the period of around
3
2
weeks.
to 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks.
So New York was probably climbing high, but everybody kind of left New York. I think they're sitting on the highway right now. So maybe the highway now has become I don't know what they're doing. It's devastating. What is that show? I can't. Let's see. Yeah, USA. Wow, 200,000 with 10,000 new cases today. That's just horrific. I would like to see that number going down.
No, we all would like to see the number going down, but I'm not sure. And I was also listening to the President Trump's press conference with your health doctor, Dr. Pao, or I don't figure out the name actually, and they were discussing about the peak, and they said that the peak will go down, or it will be at the lowest point in June. That's what they were discussing yesterday.
So, and it's all based on quarantining, right? It's all based on being able to quarantine and test to control it. And because they waited so long, it's not happened fast enough. So our numbers, we're going to see them go as astronomically high. The fact that we didn't even stop our airplane flights, you can't trace the amount of people one person touched. You're just not going to be able to do it. That's why I want to use the cell phone data to help text to people, hey, if this person has coronavirus and this is their number, we have matched you in the vicinity near this cell phone so many times. Not everybody's going to have a cell phone, but we can reach a lot of people that way and say that you were in the vicinity of the cell phone on this day. Please take precaution, and check in on this. Namaste.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Namaste. Very good evening.
Welcome to the
Namaste,
show.
all of you.
Good evening, sir.
So, what do you have for us today? I mean, do you have any news update? Anything good?
I was just now listening, in fact, and I don't think part of it. And to my mind, and I believe all of us agree that the major solution has to come in the form of lockdown. And I would just like to quote one example. Today, in fact, only I have read it in the newspaper. There is and Meghalaya was the first state in India to declare a lockdown. And in fact, Ankit, I have shared with you the news also. If possible, please. So they very clearly that Shillong, the capital of Meghalaya, it is not having even a single case of COVID. So that's the effect of lockdown. They were the first one to declare the lockdown, the curfew, and the effect is in front of all of us. So certainly, I don't think any of us can disagree with it that it's high time that US should declare a lockdown. It's the time is warranting it, and the time is passing by. So
I
it's
agree.
high time that they take action regarding that.
I agree
Ankit,
with
I would
you.
request you, please, you can just
I
display
didn't get the
the
link.
news item.
I
Oh,
didn't get
oh,
the link.
no problem. No issues, no issues. So that's one major thing I believe where US is lacking. And fortunately for us, we are having like 8 days are over of the current lockdown. And we are having 2 more weeks as on after that. I'm sure the decision will be taken. But to my mind, in spite of the difficulty, the lockdown has helped a lot in containing the spread because there are two things. One is the vaccine, as Dr. Tula was saying. That's absolutely correct that it will take its own time, maybe 1 month, 2 months, or maybe more. But in the meantime, what needs to be stopped is the spread of the virus. Because even if the vaccine is discovered, the more the people, the more difficult it will be to implement it. So certainly, lockdown is the need of the hour right now.
And
I
what
think it,
financial implications you are seeing for India and around the world in terms of the coronavirus and the lockdown?
Yes. See, I think regarding the financial implications part of it, all the governments, like in India, whether the center or the state part of it, because in the same news item, it was also mentioned that the state has sanctioned grant of the financial grant to the people who are being, you can say, unemployed for the time being because the major implication is for the food industry, the restaurant. So the people who were working over there, they have left the place. They were quite possible the daily wage people. So for them, the government has come out with the financial package, and even the central government, they've come out with a 3.7 billion rupees package that is from the Reserve Bank of India, and the government of India has come up with a 1.7 billion rupees package. So these kind of things, and in fact, as was being discussed earlier, there is a vaccine sanctioned by the US, which is 10% of and
I think we are not able to get good.
Sometimes it's hard to get.
So there looks like a technical glitch at this point of time. So I would request
are you able to listen to me?
link. In the meantime, I would like to play a basic video about the coronavirus and how it implicates the body. In the meantime, Mr. Sai will fix up the issue.
Are you able to listen to me?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Named for the crown-like spikes on their surfaces. SARS-CoV-2 can cause COVID-19, a contagious viral infection that attacks primarily your throat and lungs. What actually happens in your body when you contract the coronavirus? What exactly causes your body to develop pneumonia? And how would a vaccine work? The coronavirus must infect living cells in order to reproduce. Let's have a closer look. Inside the virus, genetic material contains the information to make more copies of itself. A protein shell provides a hard protective enclosure for the genetic material as the virus travels between the people it infects. An outer envelope allows the virus to infect cells by merging with the cell's outer membrane. Projecting from the envelope are spikes of protein molecules. Both a typical influenza virus and the new coronavirus use their spikes like a key to get inside a cell in your body, where it takes over the cell's internal machinery, repurposing it to build the components of new viruses. When an infected person talks, coughs, or sneezes, droplets carrying the virus may land in your mouth or nose and then move into your lungs. Once inside your body, the virus comes in contact with cells in your throat, nose, or lungs. One spike on the virus inserts into a receptor molecule on your healthy cell membrane like a key in a lock. This action allows the virus to get inside your cell. A typical flu virus would travel inside a sac made from your cell membrane to your cell's nucleus that houses all its genetic material. The coronavirus, on the other hand, doesn't need to enter the host cell nucleus. It can directly access parts of the host cell called ribosomes. Ribosomes use genetic information from the virus to make viral proteins, such as the spikes on the virus's surface. A packaging structure in your cell then carries the spikes in vesicles which merge with your cell's outer layer, the cell membrane. All the parts needed to create a new virus gather just beneath your cell's membrane. Then, a new virus begins to bud off from the cell's membrane. Now, with the virus spreading in your body, how can you develop pneumonia symptoms? For this, we'll have to look into your lungs. Each lung has separate sections called lobes. Normally, as you breathe, air moves freely through your trachea or windpipe, then through large tubes called bronchi, through smaller tubes called bronchioles, and finally into tiny sacs called alveoli. Your airways, alveoli, are flexible and springy. When you breathe in, each air sac inflates, and when you exhale, the sacs deflate. Small blood vessels called capillaries surround your alveoli. Oxygen from the air you breathe passes into your capillaries, and then carbon dioxide from your body passes out of your capillaries into your alveoli. You exhale. Your airways catch most germs in the mucus that lines your trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. In a healthy body, hair-like cilia lining the tubes constantly push mucus and germs out of your airways, where you might expel them by coughing. Normally, cells of your immune system attack viruses and germs that make it past your mucus and cilia and enter your alveoli. However, if your immune system is weakened, like in the case of a coronavirus infection, the virus can overwhelm your immune cells, and your bronchioles and alveoli become inflamed as your immune system attacks the multiplying viruses. The inflammation can cause your alveoli to fill with fluid, making it difficult for your body to get the oxygen it needs. You could develop lobar pneumonia, where one lobe of your lungs is affected, or you could have bronchopneumonia that affects many areas of both lungs. Pneumonia may cause difficulty breathing, chest pain, coughing, fever and chills, confusion, headache, muscle pain, and fatigue. It can also lead to more serious complications. Respiratory failure occurs when your breathing becomes so difficult that you need a machine called a ventilator to help you breathe. These are the machines that save lives and that medical device companies currently ramp up production for. Whether you would develop these symptoms depends on a lot of factors, such as your age and whether you already have an existing condition. While this all sounds scary, the push to develop a coronavirus vaccine is moving at high speed. Studies of other coronaviruses led most researchers to assume that people who have recovered from a SARS-CoV-2 infection could be protected from reinfection for a period of time. But that assumption needs to be backed by empirical evidence, and some studies suggest otherwise. There are several different approaches for a potential vaccine against the coronavirus. The basic idea is that you would get a shot that contains faint versions of the virus. The vaccine would expose your body to a version of the virus that is too weak to cause infection, but just strong enough to stimulate an immune response. Within a few weeks, cells in your immune system would make markers called antibodies, which would be specific for only the coronavirus, or specifically its spike protein. Antibodies then attach to the virus and prevent it from attaching to your cells. Your immune system then responds to signals from the antibodies by consuming and destroying the clumps of viruses. If you then catch the real virus at a later stage, your body would recognize it and destroy it. In other words, your immune system is now primed. Collecting evidence on whether this will be possible, safe, and effective is part of what's taking researchers so long to develop a vaccine. It's a race against time to develop a vaccine amid a pandemic. Each step in vaccine development usually takes months, if not years. The Ebola vaccine broke records by being ready in 5 years. The hope here is to develop coronavirus in a record-breaking 12 to 18 months. While all of this will take time, stay home if you can to protect the most vulnerable. And don't forget to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds and as often as possible. This video was a collaboration between Nucleus Medical Media and the...
That was the video which clearly shows that what happened when someone will suffer from COVID-19 or someone has symptoms of COVID-19. And I would like to show it to my viewers because this is alarming, and as Kim always, concerned about what happened to someone or someone's body once he suffered from COVID-19. So you have seen what could it bring to that body, and Sasha also mentioned that some of the people, the lungs get affected and they are not able to, re-cure their lungs. So
I've read, I've not personally spoke with patients. Yeah, I would welcome the opportunity. But I've read that they say it's like breathing glass. It's so painful.
Goodbye, everybody. I have to leave.
Oh, you have to leave, Sasha.
See you
tomorrow.
It's not April Fool.
But I've received news from the prince just now. So I don't know that he'll be joining us anytime soon. He said that whatever news we're receiving is not as true as it's being reported in his country, is taking a big hit. And his biggest concern, it's hard for me to read from here, so you'll have to bear with me. He sent me a huge message. So the government, their government has just extended a complete social distancing and isolation for 3 weeks. They fear that the government did not take this as serious as they should, and it will become the biggest epidemic center of the world, which we already have. I think have we passed China? Has our numbers passed? Yeah. So the U.S. administration stands out in the inconsistency of its messaging and the risk it is taking with all of its own citizens. This is likely to lead to a massive spread of the virus and major damage to the U.S. and the global economy. And again, he doesn't want to take a stand publicly to speak today. He said it's going to take more than a miracle. That we need to hunt it down and stamp it out. And this is what the Prince's message is to the world. And hopefully I'll be able to get him on, because when he speaks, he's so powerful. But the Prince of Netherlands is saying that we don't need to be taking this light. We don't need to be ignoring it. We need to hunt it down, and we need to stamp it out. We need to rid the world of this virus. So he is having to face this at his own home. We are under siege, and all we can do is wait, sweat it out while doctors are fighting for their own daily battles and lives. So right now, he says there are no miracles, only consistent, rigorous policy and sufficient ICU capacity will stop this monster. He's calling this a monster, and I agree with him. We need to address it. Don't wait till it slaps us in the face, which we've probably already done. And I think that everyone is feeling the pain of this, including our leaders in other countries. He's not ready to speak publicly right now because they're fighting it, and they're fighting for their own lives daily. Again, this is not a disease that's prejudiced or biased. I mean, we've seen it hit politician families, the rich, the poor, a lot of old, but we're now seeing it hit the young. We've heard stories where children have had it and they survive, but the parents are struggling. But these are stories we're hearing. We need to speak with some of these people personally, and so that we can get the word out. I'm, blessed. We're hearing from people from all over the world. Afghanistan, everyone's locking down. Everyone is scared. And it would be great to be able to just join hands together and not be afraid. Stay home. If you get sick, use your phone. Call the doctors for help. Find out what you can do to help your family. Start some new habits, right, guys? Let's start some new habits. Exercise. Look up an instrument you haven't played. Be happy. I mean, I've seen so many cool things come out of people staying at home, like those little boys that play the violin and dance all over the room. I mean, that's what we need to be doing. Get it out of your system. We are learning the secret to this monster is the better immunity system you have. The more you're going to be able to fight it off if you do catch it. And so build up your immune system. My goodness, if you're having to stay home, use this as an opportunity to build your immune system. If you can't get food, contact us. We'll try to help you find a way. Email us at go live, LIV, not LIVE, but live, LIV, go live at IBM.TV. And Kit and I, and we've got friends all over the world, and you got friends. So if we hear that someone needs something, we can reach out and help them. I'm helping somebody right now in the Philippines through a friend of mine from the Philippines. And we're able to communicate and find out what the real story is. They're suffering. They're in lockdown there as well. They're scared. And everyone's kind of disappointed in our president. For some reason, the whole world was looking to our president for the immediate response, and there was none. There was, oh, go to work. There's nothing to be afraid of. And 24 hours later, oh my goodness, there's something to be afraid of. So, I mean, my thing is that as a parent, sometimes, as a leader, you are a parent. And sometimes you have to do things that your kids are going to hate and hate you for, but it's for the best. And he should have been doing that. I know his party would have hated him in January for saying, we need to do a shutdown now. We need to get a control on this. And we need to face it because it's taking over China. He didn't do that. And I think other world leaders were looking to him to make this decision. So I just got to hope and pray he's going to make some smart decisions now. I think he's more of a reactive person because he is a business person. So he reacts more. So he waits until the problem faces him as opposed to proactive. I think our future, we need to start planning and finding people who are proactive. I think we need to have in place a better proactive World Health Organization. We need to hold them accountable for how the message has been put out there, because there are a lot of lives not just suffering, but will be permanently damaged and who died. And we need to hold some people accountable for this. And, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, don't blame Trump. It's not his fault. The Bible says, he who hasn't sinned, don't cast that stone at him. But I do hold him accountable. I hold him accountable for every life that died in the U.S. right now. And I hold him accountable for every life that is lying in a bed, struggling to breathe. And who will struggle to breathe the rest of their lives because their lungs will be damaged. And I want some accountability from my leaders for not leading us right. And, I'm, glad to hear India was getting it under control, but now I'm sad to hear that, we have to hit a peak, but it's because everyone didn't take control. Somebody from America might have traveled to India or vice versa and made it work. We heard about patient 31 in South Korea. I mean, what an astronomical story. If you start calculating the numbers, if you're infected and you touch 10 people, and each of those 10 people touch 10 people, and each of those 10 people touch 10 people in a 24-hour period, can you calculate the numbers of people that they touch? And then you went to church, right? So how many more people did you touch in that one moment? And think about that. Stop thinking about being selfish. Oh, I can't go out today. I can't work today. Think about, hey, I stayed home and lived today. And what am I going to do when this is over in 90 days? And people, I'm going to tell you, like doctors have always told me, healing is a 90-day process. When you break an arm and you wear a cast, it's a full 90 days to heal. And from watching 93 days, that's a season, right? 90 days is a season. 93 days is a full season. It takes a season to change, make a difference. We're not going to see a difference in 21 days. We're not.
We completely agree, and I think we have to stick to the 90-day rule. That then only we can break that chain. Because if one people will be left with the COVID-19 symptoms, I think it can bring back the spread again. So,
and I agree. I don't, And there are so many people who have not been minding the rule. How many of them have become infected and or will become infected and then, like you said, respread and restart all over? And we don't
And
want
also,
to do that.
you need to think that a lot of doctors who are treating the patients, they are taking the right precautions, still they get infected. You can imagine that what this virus is doing. And I think Mr. Shankar has some story to discuss about it.
Please.
Yes, I think like I'm specifically talking with in respect to the lockdown part of it. It's very important, as Kim was saying, that we keep busy, we be happy, and it's the right time to reach out to each other, get in touch with the people whom, yeah, this was the news that I was talking about, one of the states in India, and just see that they enforced the lockdown curfew at an early stage and how it has benefited them. So, what I believe is that at this point of time, it's very important that we reach out to each other, either by the social media or by the telephone, giving them a call. You won't believe, today I got in touch with one of my ex colleagues after 24 years. Like it was, and we discussed for half an hour. It was kind of deja vu. Like we discussed everything, and this is the time that he is looking forward for someone to reach him. I'm looking forward for someone to reach me. So I believe that kind of like getting in touch with someone whom you have lost contact, lost touch, that's very important. One needs to be busy in a constructive manner. Quite possible, one of the hobbies that one might have forgotten can be stamp collection, or maybe looking at one of the stamp collection that one has left maybe 5 or 6 years back, or maybe writing poetry, writing short stories, reading puzzles, all these things. This is the time, and it's actually very like human beings by nature, they don't want any change. So 3 weeks at a stretch. I'm sure right now on the WhatsApp, a lot of jokes are going that husband wife for the first time in their lives, 21 days at a stretch, seeing each other's face and becoming over friendly, those kinds of things. But actually, it's a change which we should welcome with open arms. Of course, it's not a very good thing, but quite possible it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe 3 weeks at a stretch you spend with your family, you get in touch with them, with the old friends, maybe first time in your life. Many of us, you'd be doing the daily course. That's also important because all of us, we need to work as a team. So I think that's the time for it to get ready and welcome this change.
I think it's
So,
Dr.
Mr.
Muhammad.
Shankar, we have a question from one of our viewers that the lockdown happened in India for 21 days. We know that it will impact the Indian economy, but does it impact the economy of other countries as well?
Is this question to me?
Yeah.
Yes, I think yeah.
Yes, Shankar.
You're asking about the effect on the economy part of it?
Economy part, not in India, but does the lockdown in India affect the economy of other countries as well?
Yes, I think certainly because we are living in a global village. It's all interconnected. So, in fact, one of the articles I was reading, it was saying that USA, most of the medicines, they are being manufactured in China, and they are facing a problem not because of course, because of the COVID and the virus part of it. But apart from that, there are so many medicines which are being used by the people, maybe for hypertension or for that matter, diabetes or those kind of things. And it has the pharmaceutical industry has got affected. So, kind of an accident took place, an incident took place, and it is having repercussions throughout the world. not only in one country in itself. Same way the export, the import, the people, the repatriation, foreign nationals, all of it, everything is being affected. So nothing works in isolation. Of course, everything is getting affected. And yesterday, in fact, one of the points which was being made, I believe, by Dr. Vishal, that was a very valid point. And he said that all the governments, they need to get together and work in unison. That's very important. That's the need of the hour. That's what is required as on date.
Can I add
And
something?
so there might be developing countries or developed countries who can stabilize their economy maybe in a point of time. But what about the countries with less of an economy and smaller countries like Nepal, Bhutan, maybe Myanmar, and all those countries? Because they are, I think, highly dependent on India.
Right, certainly, and that's why I think, if I'm not mistaken, India is coming up with financial aid not only for its own people but even for the other countries, for the neighboring countries as well as for. And to my mind, I think all the countries they need to work. Whether it is, see, I believe that on a micro level, if we as individuals contribute, it can make a lot of difference. I believe there is a philosophy which is known as the circle of goodness. I think all of us who are having who are part of this discussion, who are viewing it, the ones who are the salaried class, we are the people who quite possible we are the blessed ones, we are the highly privileged ones. The companies have taken up steps that the salaries should not be stopped. Salaries even of the not the permanent workers for that matter, they should keep on. To my mind, I think that benefit, it should not stop at us. It should be carried on to the other people. Quite possible the domestic help part of it, or even otherwise. We have got something like the Prime Minister Relief Fund, those
Yeah.
kinds of things where we should be able to contribute. So at our level, the government definitely does take steps, they will be taken. But at our level, that's what we can do.
Ankit, can I add up something?
Yeah, please add up, please.
See, global market size is right now $85 trillion, and this COVID is going to let us down by 2.5 to 3 trillion in whole year of 2020, as the economists are discussing about right now. But in the meantime, today is a very good news. See, we have discussed 3 days or 2 days back on the same IBM TV that India is a pharmacy of the world, and right now there is no supply because there is no flight is going on anywhere else. But on that discussion, second day, Prime Minister of India invited the ambassadors across the world and discuss about the supply chain right now. And today is a very good news connecting to these two episodes. I talked about few manufacturers in India. They started manufacturing goods right now, and they have sufficient amount of labors as well. 60% labors are with them, and they are taking the complete precautions, whatever the guideline of WHO and others, distancing and all others. They are using sanitizer and all. So it's my gut feeling that very soon the supply is going to be resumed. Very soon India will start supplying to the world again. So we should not be worried about the future. We should worry about the today. Today is a scenario of trust actually. So first we have to trust on our own first, because what is that trust? Trust means everyone has to take care first. One, whatever the work and whatever they're thinking to be busy, one should be try to busy inside the home. See, immune system, firstly we have to take care of our internal army. What is the immune system? Our gut is having the 80% immune part, because uh, we should target in food habit, for example, in India there is a two good food habits. One is taking the different kind of chilies, green, red, and black chilies and spices and all. These are the very good things. Second thing, we are very much fond of the curd. It's a probiotic. So ultimately, we are getting the support system inside to improve our immune system, and we have to have the 8 hours sleep. This will give a boost to the immune system. So it is individual's duty to take care the immune first. Second duty is the duty of the governance. Whatever this leader is doing right now, they are doing a wonderful job. Doctors, media, police, and everybody is doing the wonderful job. And IBM, I'm just thankful of IBM as well. IBM has raised these issues of restoring the medicine supply across the world from India, and the industry started operating manufacturing right now from today. So it's very good news. So hopefully we will be taking care COVID issues perfectly.
No,
Yes.
I think you're right. We all need to just take and become our own disciplines. Um, do
That's right.
more at home. Find these things at home. There's so much you could do online. You know what? This did our social distancing. This taught us social distancing a long time ago. The problem is the mindset with the people. The minute you tell them they can't have something, they got to have it, right? It's like the minute you tell me that these are gone, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to have it, right? Or when I go into an MRI, every time I go into my MRIs, they tell you can't move. And immediately my nose itches. It's in your mind, right? We've been socially distanced for years. And now we can't be socially distanced. It's against our will. So I think you're right, both of you. We lost Ankit, which I'm not used to losing Ankit. But we need to think about it, other people, not about yourself, but about other people. Build your immunity. And get it fighting mentally. I think you're going to fight this. If you watch the movie 93 Days, it's a 2-hour movie, but it's about the Ebola, and I think it really shares what's important in getting this under control. I can't believe I forgot that story, and it would be great to get that doctor, the epidemic doctor, on and talk to him, because anytime there's an Ebola outbreak, I don't think he does any other epidemic. He understands Ebola, right? It's his monster that he tames. It's his dragon, and they call him. He goes in and he helps them get it under control. And he says every time it's different. Every time the symptom, but they learn certain things each time. And he learned that he learned to know when the body beat it. He hands the people a chart, and he says, every time you do something, I want you to write this down. And then he would come. They had to self-treat basically because there's not enough people to treat it. And so he would go look at their charts. They had to keep up with their own charts. And he could tell when they passed their own personal curve of fighting it, and then when they were going to make it. He would know just by looking at their own chart. So I think we need to do this for ourselves too. Start tracking our daily log. I do this as a lab person when I'm troubleshooting a problem, but you need to start taking care of your own body. And I think each person needs to write down every day when they woke up, what day it is, what time it was they woke up, because I don't know about you guys, but my time's really starting to get lost. And write down what you ate, where it came from. Write down what you did that day. If your temperature went up, if you felt bad, if you sneezed 5 times. I think we need to start taking logs on our own life as if we're our own doctor. And
kind of self-audit.
What?
Kind of self-audit.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, very good word.
That's it.
But it's more about getting your medical diary, regular diary routine.
Yeah, a medical diary
Totally.
together, and not just for you, but for your whole family, and write down what you ate. If you went outside, what was the temperature? But make it a daily log. I say this because my mother-in-law did this for many years, her whole life up until the day she died. There was a log of every day. I could tell you based on her logs what temperature it was in 1976. I could go through her
Oh
books
my God.
and tell you what kind of weather they had on that particular day. Did she pick tomatoes or can them? But she would also keep log of her own personal health. You know, how she felt. Did she feel sick? Did she? So it doesn't have to be a diary of, oh, I crushed on somebody. No, your own personal health log. And I think you can track then whether you started feeling bad. We've heard some of the letters Sasha has read of a woman who had it, and she could tell you every day, on this day, I wasn't feeling so great, but I only ran a fever one day. Everybody thinks that the symptoms are fever for days, but she only ran a fever for one day. I started doing this. I started feeling breathless. So she could tell you every day, step by step, what was happening. And she realized she needed to call a doctor. And I learned through her story that the real way to determine whether you have this in you is a CAT scan, not an X-ray, not even the blood test, because you got to wait 10 days. But by running a CAT scan, they know instantly that she had it, because they ran an X-ray of her lungs and they said, well, she's still not feeling good. Let's take, and I don't think they were looking for COVID-19 at the time, because she didn't have any of the symptoms. They were just trying to figure out, why is this healthy woman all of a sudden sick? And she ended up having COVID-19. So I think when we listen to other people's stories, and because she kept a diary or a log of every day, I learned something different, that the symptoms are not the same. So try a health log.
It's a suggestion for those who are having the panic. They are afraid. So rather than thinking about own life, think about the doctors who are not living with the family. They're living in some other places alone. So it's a really a very challenging life for a doctor actually. So rather than thinking about ourselves, we should think about those who are real hero, especially the doctors and the all the medical staffs and police and the media people. They are doing wonderful job right now. They are like a superhero. They're like the angel right now. So
Yeah.
we are sitting at home. We are not doing
I
anything
agree.
else. Yes, we are not doing
Right.
anything else. We are sitting at home. So at least you should take care yourself first.
Exactly.
So they are taking
Certainly.
lots of precautions.
Certainly.
Rather than they are working, they are doing the job as a superhero. They are scary about the life as well. So think about the doctors first. So once you will start thinking about the doctors, about the media person, about the police and the healthcare professionals, your panic will be subside right away. Oh, you are in a safe place. You should not worry about that. It's my opinion and suggestion.
No,
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
I
No
agree.
doubt about it. Like as Kim was saying, doing exercise, one part of it. I think today only there was a mention by the Prime Minister of India that doing yoga, in case you're used to or if you want to develop it, it's a wonderful thing. It can take away a lot of your tension. And of course, be positive. I think at this point
But
of
being
time, that's the
positive is
most
not a good thing
important thing.
right now. Being positive is not a good sign right now.
You know, build up your immune system by laughing. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's inevitable when you start smiling, somebody else is going to smile with you.
Certainly.
I
Certainly.
get real happy every time I see each one of you come on, because I know you're going to share something and make me laugh. And and that's what builds the immune system. My mom always told me the best facelift in the world is a smile, and the cheapest.
Smile, right?
Right. It's the cheapest facelift. And but it also
Absolutely.
just lifts you up inside. Yeah. It's just, we got to get through this together, right? Let's get our little ambassador
No doubt about
on,
it.
because I'm going to have to leave and get on the phone with some people. But yeah, let's get our ambassador on. I want to see my little Amishi tell us what to do. I love it, a little girl telling us what to do.
हैंड होकर और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे अच्छू अच्छू और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का.
There you have it. The three basic rules, right? The three basic rules. Thank you. And I wish you all well.
Thank you.
Take care. Good night.
Thank you. Namaste.
See you tomorrow. And stay safe, stay healthy, and keep in touch socially, but keep the physical distance intact, because this is what required for next time. Then only we can fight and survive.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I hate to wrap up that fast when things are going so good, but